Hey guys. Part 9 of What If Naruto was sealed and woke up after 2000 years. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 28. Confronting one's parent. Location: Noveria. The team sat in silence as the tram made its way down to the hot labs. The last hour or so had been weird, and no one there would try to dispute that fact. They had been able to fix the landlines easily, if not freezing enough. But when they went down to fix the main reactor, they found that it was already fixed, despite Mira repeating that it needed to be fixed. That had been a long conversation with the six. After that, when they were warned about contaminants in the passageway to the tram and the way to kill them without getting hurt themselves, they went there to do just that, only to find that the contaminants, which were obviously Arachne, were already dead. Again, Mira kept insisting that they were still there, which led to another long conversation. Something strange was going on. Naturally, they had to talk about it. Or at least that's what Tali thought. Does anyone else think that something like this has happened before? She asked from her chair. Or is it just me? What are you talking about? Rex asked. He leaned against the tram's window, but didn't look outside. Great, so it's just me, she said to herself, little disappointed. Tali, what are you talking about? He repeated himself. Some context here would be nice. Ease off, mate, Maya told the Krogan from where she sat next to Liara. He scowled at her. Who asked you to butt in? He asked. Tali did. She was talking to everyone, not just you, despite what you might think. He rolled his eyes. Liara, kiss your girlfriend so she'll stop talking. Whoa, hold on now. The swangman cried, stopping the Asari next to her from leaning in with those magnificent peckers, in her opinion. This is not becoming a thing. Do you hear me? This is not becoming a thing. Liara's eyes widened and began to water. You mean that you don't mean to kiss you anymore? No, that's not what I mean. I think it does. The water began to turn into tears. One even fell down her cheek as she spoke. Why else would you say that? Meanwhile, in the head of Naruto, who was standing by the door, a certain nine-tailed fox was laughing so hard that he had fallen to the ground. Oh Kami, that is too much, Kurama declared. The other Biju didn't see what he was talking about. What are you laughing about? Koko asked him. She's just watering up the eyes a bit. I know. That's what's so funny. She's doing the single-tear maneuver and she's not even realizing it. Do you know what this means? That she's able to cry easily? Matatabi asked. No. It's the mark of one who can become a pro. The laughter died and was replaced with a look of complete seriousness. Naruto, you must teach her. No, the blonde said, keeping his face expressionless so the others didn't know what was going on in his head. Quite frankly, this was one of those situations where they didn't need to know. Come on, you know you have to. No, I don't. Gaki, she can do the single tear naturally. If Jiraiya was here, he'd start teaching her in a heartbeat. We both know that. If Jiraiya was here, he would kidnap her, take her to some planet, city, town, or even village and make her practice until she could make anyone she showed the tear fall in love with her instantly. Are you speaking from experience? Gyuki asked him. It sounded like he was. Yes. He hadn't realized what the Arrow Sennin was making him do until after the fact. Before that, he was confused as to why he was doing it to the girls in that town, and why he was being kissed so many times, as well as why most of them always seemed to wipe or lick away the tear. Once he found out, he was ashamed and embarrassed. So do you see why it is so important that you must train her? Kurama asked him. I'm not training her, Fox. That exercise, as Jiraiya called it, horrified me. I had no idea that one tear could make a girl act like that. It just felt so wrong doing it. Yeah, then, the QB remarked. But nowadays you wouldn't have that much of a problem with it. Considering his track record with women and the bedroom, which is to say, Shikaku began to say with a grin on his face. Shikaku, finish that sentence and I will hurt you, the Jinchuriki threatened the Tanuki. If the plan was to simply terrify the Ichibi with those words, it didn't work. What are you going to do? Try and hurt me? Or will be the other Biju try and beat me into the ground again? He was being flippant, but he didn't care at this point. No. I'll have them hold you down while I make you watch every single memory I have of Guy and Lee when they were feeling youthful. Would you like that to happen? He asked in an innocent-sounding voice when it was anything but. Shikaku got the point. No, you don't need to do that, he hurriedly assured the blonde. Good. And Kurama, I'm not training Liara, end of discussion. He turned his attention his team. Maya, just kiss Liara before she goes overboard with the tears, he told the swagman. She did as she was told, quite enthusiastically. Tali, repeat what you said, please. She was glad someone was listening. I said, did anyone else think that something like this has happened before, or was it just me? No, you're right, this has happened before. Oh, thanks for that. It was driving me nuts trying to remember or not. Remind me again, where did it happen before? On Pharaoh's. When he said that, she remembered what had happened on that planet. Oh yeah, that's right. Ashley, listening from the back, added her opinion. That part of time on Pharaoh's was just plain odd, she declared. I think that we've already established that, Sun commented. Shut up, Matatabi told him. But the Yambi wasn't the only who was believed that. I think that we've already established that, Rex told Ashley. See? I'm not alone here, Sun said. The Nibby glared at him. Maya stopped kissing Liara and looked at everyone else. Do we have any idea on who it was that did all that, by the way? She asked. No, we didn't, Ashley answered. I thought that we had agreed that it was Saren who was helping us out, Gurus said. No, we were joking about that, she reminded him. I was kidding, she rolled her eyes. Of course he was. She looked at everyone else. Does anyone have any ideas on who it was? Maybe it was a fangirl who was able to find out what we were doing and helped out, Naruto suggested. He frowned and looked at everyone. No one here caught fangirls when I wasn't looking, right? That got him weird looks from the non-humans. How do you catch fangirls? Gurus asked him. They're not a disease. They could very well be classified as one. He knew that one from experience. The others weren't convinced. They're sentient beings, Commander, Liara said to him. They are not a plague. He looked her straight in the eyes. You haven't seen a mass stampede of them down Main Avenue when they've seen the object of their desire finish running and have worked up a sweat, he said with the utmost seriousness. I have, Kurama answered him. Same here, Gyuki spoke out. I wasn't talking to you too, he told them. The people in the tram just stared at him in stunned silence. Did that happen to you? Tali finally asked him. He shook his head. No, it happened to Sasuke. Ashley stiffened. He knew why. It wasn't every day one heard about their ancestor from someone who knew them. It was something that happened often, much to the pleasure of the rest of us. What does that mean? Liara asked. He means that the rest of them were laughing their asses off whenever they saw it happen, Shalia, Maya told her, making it sound like she was talking about something that happened at the grocery store. Naruto agreed with the swagman. It's funny when it's not happening to you, he said. That's mean, the Asari declared, looking offended by what she was hearing. You couldn't have just left them like that. Why not? Asked Maya. Naruto looked at her. Has the rule of thumb changed since I was sealed? He asked her, genuinely curious. She wasn't sure. What was the rule of thumb before you were sealed? If the target gets within 5 feet of a friend and looks at them for help, the friend is obligated to help them escape, he recited perfectly. Otherwise, they can laugh all they want. Oh, in that case, no. The rule of thumb hasn't really changed. It's just been modified. Modified how? They extended the range out to 10 feet. Why the extension? He wondered. She shrugged. Hey, some of the fangirls have a longer reach than others. Plus, they started taking hostages. Wait, did she say what he thought she had said? Hostages? He repeated. Hostages, she said again with a nod. You know what? I'm not going to ask. It was weird enough that they were actually having this conversation. Unfortunately for him, the conversation wasn't going to end there. So, did you have any fangirls come after you? Tali asked. A few times, he admitted. There was no way he could lie about this. It was one of the rules, complete honesty about fangirls. But I was able to escape them quicker than the others. They would always run away from the fangirls. I ran towards them. The 2 other humans there looked at him, surprised. Pardon my saying this, sir, but did you have a death wish? Ashley asked. No. When I ran towards them, it would excite and confuse them, which slowed down their reaction time. When I was about to reach them, I would always vault overhead and land at their back. Once my feet touched earth, I was off and quickly found a hiding place. My best time with that was about 3 minutes, 52 seconds from start to finish. Once they figured it out, the other guys began copying me. He had been glad that the fangirls had pretty much stopped their chasing when the war became more obvious and more serious. They may have been a rabid, seemingly endless horde of crazed girls, but even they realized that they should let their idol concentrate on the war. Now arriving at Rift Station, Binary Helix Research Facility, Mira announced over the tram's comm, making them relieved. Already they could feel the tram slowing down. Took this thing long enough, Rex grumbled as it come to a stop. But once it did, he got serious and pulled out his shotgun. The door in front of Naruto opened. The blonde drew his guns and led the team into the empty waiting room. This is becoming an unnerving thing, Liara said as she looked around and saw no one else there. Don't let it get to you, Ashley said to her, keeping her rifle pointed forward. She nodded and kept alert. The team found 2 doors and only one of them was unlocked. When they went through, they found 2 elevators and only the one going up to the hot labs was active. Having no other choice, they entered the elevator. How many elevators can one have in a building? Naruto asked. This is getting ridiculous. Actually, this is pretty standard, Geras told him. He looked at the Turian. That's reassuring. Everyone could hear the heavy sarcasm in his voice. When they stepped out of the elevator, their saw turned just ahead. They followed it, only to pull back when shots were fired. Back up, back up! Maya shouted to the rest of the team as she and Naruto went back around the corner. Identify yourself. A voice from the room beyond shouted at them. We're friendlies. Naruto shouted back at them. Even though he said that, he was thinking of attack methods. If he went low while Maya went high, they could take a few. That would give the rest time to move up. Identify yourself. The voice repeated, but they weren't going to attack just yet. He still had cards to play. Jonin Naruto Uzumaki, Spectre Agent. That card was always useful. There was a moment of silence. Stand down, the voice said, obviously to his own men. All right, come out where I can see you people, he told them. The Spectre and his team came out of cover, keeping their hands in plain sight as they walked into the room. That didn't mean they were all happy about it. Thanks for the welcome, Tali said sarcastically to the leader of the men behind the makeshift barricade. She could tell he was the leader because he was the only one standing. Sorry, he said in reply. We couldn't be sure what was on the tram. Who are you? Maya asked him. Captain Ventralis, head of what remains of security here. He looked at the blonde who stood at the front of the team. Are you really Naruto Uzumaki? He sounded like he wanted to believe but was being professional about. Yeah, that's me, Naruto answered. Huh, I won't look a legendary gift horse in the mouth. I'll take that as a compliment. It was meant to be one. What the hell happened here? Rex asked. He wanted to know how there were Rachni around when they should have been extinct. The aliens overran the hot labs last week. Only Hanola got out, and he ain't all there anymore. He looked tired and a little disgruntled as he spoke. The first thing we knew, the bastards were clawing into my command post. We had a lot more staff then, he remarked with a little sarcasm. So you've been holding up here since then? Naruto asked him. Yeah, pretty much. The board sent an emissary to clean up the mess. She went into the hot labs yesterday. We haven't heard from her since. He looked back at the rest of his men, seeing how tired and worn they were. And they weren't the only ones. Look, all I can do is hold out here and protect the civilians. The blonde nodded approvingly. That's a good thing to do. It doesn't seem like that recently. He sounded very cynical. It still is, he insisted. We will take care of the hot labs. You keep the people here safe. The captain didn't look like he was going to argue that. All right, here he said, holding out a card. There's an emergency elevator out by the trams. You may have passed it on your way here. This card will let you activate it. It can take you down to the hot labs. Naruto took the card and looked it over. It was a plain, ordinary-looking card. Not chakra-coded, he remarked after trying to channel his chakra into it, and got nothing. Ventralis gave him a look. In case you haven't noticed, we're not working in a human-only kind of lab. Right, sorry, he said sheepishly, having forgotten that point. The captain of the security just rolled his eyes. If you need any first aid, Dr. Cohen's downstairs in the med bay. May I ask a question? Liara asked, bringing the attention to her. Was the emissary that was sent a matriarch? Yeah, she was, Ventralis answered. She said her name was Benizia. She stiffened a little. And you're certain that she's still in the hot labs? He shrugged. She hasn't come back here. You came through Central Station, so she ain't there. That was as much as he knew. I see. Thank you. A sound echoed in the room, making the captain snap his head like a dog watching his territory. Hell! Man the perimeter! He shouted to his men, drawing his gun. The men, who had stood up, started wandering around the room, immediately went back for the barricades. What's happening? Tali asked, quickly drawing her shotgun. She didn't get an answer, but Naruto did. I think you're about to have company, Komiai told him. Rachni company? He asked. Would I be telling you that you're about to have company if it wasn't the Rachni? Hey, I figured out who was coming just by the sound. It had been a screech like he had heard from the first Rachni they encountered. Well, they're here. A nearby grate shot upwards from the floor and Rachni appeared. A tendril shot out and grabbed a slow security guard. Help! He screamed panically as the tendril started pulling him away. Naruto suddenly remembered a memory of the war. Obito had let loose some sort of creature in a city near Kumo. It took him and a company of fellow shinobi 2 days to find and kill it, while it did the same with a lot more success. One time it ambushed his group, dragging Darui's cousin into an alley. He screamed for help as he was taken, but they couldn't reach him in time. Naruto had counted that shinobi as a comrade, yet he couldn't do anything to save him as the creature took him. And now, it was happening again. He wasn't going to let it. With a quickness forged from desperation, he opened fire on the Rachni dragging the man. The bullets got its attention, and it screeched at him. Translation? He asked Komiai. In essence? The Nanabai asked back. He's telling you to fuck off. Not likely. He continued shooting the Rachni, all the while moving towards it. When he was in reach, he threw a kunai at the tentacle, cutting it, and grabbed the man, pulling him back. It all happened in the space of 10 seconds. Some of the guards might have been impressed if they had the time for it. Covering fire! Shouted Captain Ventralis. It was instantly given as Naruto dragged the man back behind the safety of the barricades. You okay? The blonde asked the man, setting him down and instantly checking him over for injuries. I'm good, he replied, giving a weak thumbs up. When he heard those 2 words, Naruto breathed a silent sigh of relief. His memories would not have a repeat here. Rex was the forefront, firing his shotgun like there was no tomorrow. Die, fucking bugs! He roared. With his inherent anger fueling him, he took down one of the Rachni by himself. It was impressive, but it also left him alone. Rex, look out! Geras shouted, but it was too late. One of the Rachni leapt at the Krogan, tackling him against the floor. It only made Rex angrier. Get off! He roared, channeling his biotics and throwing them at the bug. It flew off, striking the ceiling. As it fell, anyone who had a gun swung it upwards and started shooting at its underside. It hit the ground dead. The last Rachni didn't like the odds it faced. It turned and fled, screeching at them as it left. Do I want to know what that was all about? Naruto asked Komiai. It sounded like a lot of insults, but they didn't make any sense, the Kabutomushi answered. Is it that accent again? No, not that. He sounded crazed, like he was mad or berserk. I see. He didn't know what else to say. He looked back at Ventralis. Thanks for the help, the man told him. Does this happen often? Every few hours, a group comes up the tram tunnel. It's actually better since we locked down the elevator. I don't know why they keep throwing themselves against our defenses. Even animals should learn not to stick their noses where it hurts. You obviously have never been to Tuchenka, Rex commented. Rex, you've been cut, Ashley told him, noticing a cut on his shoulder. The Rachni must have gotten to him. Before he could say anything, the captain did. Go see the doc, he ordered. It just needs some Medigel, the Krogan told him. His look was firm as he stared down the Krogan. I'm not taking any chances here. Go see him and get yourself checked out. Rex, don't argue, Naruto said before the battlemaster could open his mouth. Let's just do it. To make sure there was no argument, they all went to the med lab. It was run by a human named Dr. Cohen. Like Rex had said, the scratch just needed Medigel. But they found sick people in the lab, and when Maya wondered what had happened, they soon found out from the doctor, after a little persuading from Naruto. A bioweapon had been experimented with when Mira had suddenly gone offline, which made the quarantine the scientists were in fail and got said scientists sick. Captain Ventralis had the lab where the experiment failed sealed no one would be contaminated, but according to the doctor, there was no danger of being contaminated. All one had to do was find the notes left there as well as the equipment to create a cure. Seeing the people lying on the beds all around groaning and moaning in pain, Naruto volunteered to go inside the lab to get the notes and make the cure. He sent a clone up to Ventralis to get permission. The memory he got back showed he got it. Figuring that it would be a simple grab-and-go mission but realizing that he would most likely need help, he just had Liara come with him to the quarantine lab. They found a guard standing outside the lab door. What do you want? The guard said as they approached. I've got permission to go in there, Naruto told him. Yeah, Ventralis radioed. He also said that you have to prove you're not contaminated to get out, he replied. Fine by me, the blonde said, walking right past him and through the door. Liara followed him. She felt a small chill when the door closed behind her. In front of them was a corridor that was filled with doors that led off to different labs. Are you sure that we don't need any of the rest of the team? she asked him. Liara, we're just getting notes and making a cure, he said back. We don't need everyone for that. Plus, this way we'll be quicker in getting that cure to Dr. Cohen. Well, why am I coming along? That's what she had been wondering ever since he told her to come with him, so I can be sure that I don't make a mess of this. My grip on this time's technology is still rather shaky, despite what Anderson has taught me. And when it came to trying to save lives, a good grip was infinitely better than a shaky one. Okay. They walked in silence. She read each plaque beside the doors. She knew what wording to look out for. That's one we need to go through, she told Naruto, pointing out said door on their left. They went through and found a rather spacious lab before them. Weren't labs supposed to be small so everything can be in reach? Naruto asked. That was how he remembered the medical labs of Sakura and other medical shinobi to be. Liara gave him a look that was about to speak volumes. Then she remembered that he was from another time. This is a normal-sized lab, she told him. Oh, he said back. What else he could say about that? The doctor said that the notes and machine were at the back, right? Yes. They quickly made their way to the back and found a few tables there with the machine right in the center. They searched the tables and soon enough, Liara was the one who found them. These seemed straightforward, she remarked as she read over the notes. Naruto looked over her shoulder. How can you tell? I can't read that. It was just a lot of squiggles and lines, with a few curves. His translator didn't cover actual words. Maybe that should be something else it covers. It's old Asari, she told him. My mother. She paused for a moment, realizing what she was saying. They were here for Benezia. She took a deep breath and continued. My mother had me learn it when I was a child. She took the notes to the machine and started it up. It shouldn't take too long to make. Okay then, get to it. I would rather you didn't, a voice spoke from behind them. They turned and saw two Asari at the lab's entrance. One was in commando armor while the other one was in scientist clothes. Both were carrying guns. They both recognized the science one. Aleshtia Yalis? Liara asked. I thought you were a scientist working here. The two of them had a little conversation while the others were making their way to the medical bay. She had thought that the scientist was a little standoffish and possibly rude, but she didn't think anything of it. Obviously I wasn't, the other Asari replied with a voice full of disdain and aloofness. It marked her as a person who thought that she was in control of the situation and was better than the others because of it. Wait, what happened to the guard outside? She shrugged her shoulder in a non-caring way. I didn't have permission to come in. He got in my way. Liara wanted to say something, but Naruto told her, get that cure going. She just did as she was told. She might be a little shocked at what happened, but she knew to listen to him. I don't see the point of that, Aleshtia said to him. You will be dead soon. And what makes you say that? She scoffed. Do you not see the situation you are in right now? Enlighten me, he told her. Liara looked back at him and saw him smiling. But it wasn't his usual kind of smile. This smile seemed cruel, but the other Asari didn't seem to notice it. Look around you, she told him. You're inside a lab and the only way out is through us. She gestured to herself and the commando. Let's just get this over with already, the commando told her impatiently. She sounded like she had an itchy trigger finger that was begging to be scratched. She glared at her. Shut up, I'm enjoying this. She was in control here. How is this enjoyable to you? Naruto asked her. He sounded curious, but Liara could tell that something was off about his tone. It almost sounded like he was playing. Why, she didn't know. She just knew she didn't like how it sounded from him. You're already dead, Aleshtia said. You just don't know it yet. Trapping this easily just goes to show how the Asari are much better than humans. She chuckled mockingly. Honestly, you're so pathetically weak it's laughable. Really? He asked as the smile on his face widened. Now it seemed cruel and also bloodthirsty. Liara felt like Naruto was changing before her eyes. It was, she sighed exasperatedly and rolled her eyes. Maybe I should have also said stupid too. I'm surprised your kind ever managed to get off your planet. My, you are quite arrogant, aren't you? It's not arrogance if I can back it up. You know what? You are absolutely right. His words surprised them. They clearly didn't expect to hear him say that. And you probably think that this is just too easy. So how about I make it a little more challenging? He started walking towards them. Liara watched with stunned eyes. Commander, what are you doing? She asked. Just focus on the cure, Liara, he told her without looking back at her. He was only a foot away from the two Asari. They could see his smile all the better but still thought nothing of it. You must have a death wish, the commando stated. What makes you say that? he asked, still smiling. Do you not see the guns pointed at you? I guess you must be blind behind those glasses. No, I can see fine, thanks. In fact, I think that'll make the fight a little more interesting. Fight? Repeated Aleshtia. This isn't going to be a fight. It's going to be an execution. One can dream, right? He reached down slowly and calmly to pull out his guns from their holsters. Then he placed them on a nearby table. There we go, the commando scoffed. You're an idiot, she told him, raising the rifle she had in hand up to fire. His leg blurred as it snapped upward, kicking the rifle up into her nose, breaking it. The blood spurted out backwards, blinding her. Surprised by what just happened, she took a couple of steps back, trying to wipe the blood off. That was a mistake. Naruto stepped forward and roundhouse kicked her head. It didn't just snap her neck, it also caved in the left side of her face. You're dead, Naruto told her body as it fell to the floor. Then he looked at Aleshtia. And you're next. She was caught off guard by how fast her partner died. But she could regain control of the situation. She knew a way to stop the human in his tracks, the goddess's stare. She summoned it from within and directed at him. He paused and she smirked. She had him, but then he chuckled amusedly. Is that all the killing intent you've got? He asked her. It's good, for a child. Try this. Liara wasn't quite sure what happened. 1 minute Aleshtia seemed to be confident, the next she paled and her eyes were about bugle of their sockets from terror. She didn't know what Naruto was doing to her. All she had felt was an unpleasant chill down her back a few moments before. Now that he was sure that Aleshtia was properly terrified, Naruto started for her. The sounds of his boots shook her out of her stupor as she realized what was about to happen. Stay away! She screeched, trying to shoot him. But her focus and grip were shaky and the shots went wide. That was pathetic. I thought you were a commando. You must be a new one then. He was being insulting, but the smile was still on his face. She backed away, finally seeing the smile for what it was. You stay away. What? You get to kill me, but I can't kill you? That's rather one-sided. I don't believe I will stand for that. He disappeared from sight. Suddenly she felt him behind her, holding her arms at an angle they really don't belong at. You know, if you wanted to live after today, you should have just killed us right away. But don't think I'll make your death easy. You're cruel, she told him, whispering through the pain of her arms. Shinobi, he replied. It was the only thing he said before he began. Liara focused on making the cure, not wanting to think about what was happening behind her. She didn't look, but she could hear. She didn't want to hear. She wanted nothing more than to cover her ears. The problem with that was she needed her fingers to work the machine, so she had to hear the sounds of bones breaking and Aleshtia screaming for mercy. Even when the cure was finished, she didn't turn around while the sounds continued. Finally, they stopped, and she took a chance to peek. Are you done? She asked him. She couldn't see Aleshtia. That was probably a good thing. Yeah, I'm done, he said, the smile gone and his guns back in their holsters. Oddly enough, that was more of a relief than he was smiling. Oh, good. She turned around with the cure in hand. It's done. Okay, let's go. He turned around and went for the door. He reached for the calm guys. Meet us outside the quarantine area. Liara followed him outside the lab, stepping over the blood that was leaking on the floor. As they passed the bodies, she dared to look down at Aleshtia. The second her eyes saw the body, they snapped back up. She was used to people being dead, probably more than she wanted to be, but she was more used to them being shot. She was not used to the bodies ending up like that. Was that really necessary? She asked him as they went back into the corridor. The way the body had been twisted was like he was trying to make her into a cube. It was sickening. It was cruel, yet he was unrepentant. If it wasn't, I wouldn't have done it, he told her. He made it sound like they were talking about something reasonable. She didn't know how he could do something like that. She kept quiet as they left the corridor to join the actual base of refugees. When they stepped out, they were waved at by Hanola, the Volus who had escaped the hot labs. What is it? She asked him. They had talked to him before, but he gave off a vibe that just said to leave him alone, so the conversation had been a bit stilted. That commando came out of there, he said, pointing at a door that had been previously locked. The other Asari opened it up and the commando came through. Where does that lead? To the maintenance area, he answered. So Benizia is there? Naruto asked him. Considering that commando came with her, and that was where she came out of, I would say yes. His sarcasm was palpable. Naruto didn't even blink. Thanks. They walked away from him, leaving him alone, the rest of the team waiting nearby. What happened? Ashley asked them once they came over. That Asari scientist tried to ambush us with only one commando, Liara told her. One commando? She repeated. One commando, the Asari confirmed. Everyone shared her disbelief. What? Was she an idiot? Tali asked. Don't know about that. But I do know she's dead now, Naruto said. They all looked at him. Nothing on his face gave away anything. Well, why did she only have one commando? Geras asked. The blonde shrugged. Mostly likely because of arrogance, overconfidence, and the fact that there were only 2 of us in there, he said. The point here is that the commando came from the maintenance area, so that's probably where Benizia is. Then what the hell are we waiting for? Ashley asked. They should get moving. Wait, there's more, Liara said, holding the cure so only they could see it. We finished the cure. We can give it to Dr. Cohen. And we should probably still investigate the hot labs. You make it sound like we should split up, Shilia, Maya remarked. She was silent, so Naruto answered. That would probably be the best idea. I'll take Liara and Maya to check out the maintenance area. The rest of you hand off the cure to Dr. Cohen and then go to investigate the hot labs. Sir, is that a good idea? Ashley asked him. We have to find Benizia and I would rather not drag the entire team through this place trying to find her when I can take a chance with a smaller group to go after her. I admit it's a risk. But it's one that I am willing to take. Well, this is new, Kurama remarked. You were never really the risk taker during the war. And how many times did I let Obito slip out of reach because I didn't take the risks? He asked the fox. Kurama chose not to reply. They both knew the answer. The Spectre looked at his team. They didn't seem happy about his decision. This isn't up for debate, people, he told them. Liara, give the cure to Ash, then you and Maya follow me. He turned around and went for the entrance to maintenance area. Liara and Maya hurried to catch up. When they reached the door, they found it wasn't locked. That's helpful, Maya remarked. Aleshtia was really confident, Liara stated. They went through the door, walking into a corridor that led to a tunnel made of ice. They stepped inside and began walking through. The snow felt brittle underneath, almost on the verge of becoming ice. One wrong step and it could shatter. Naruto didn't focus on that. Are you ready for what may come? He asked Maya and Liara. No, Liara told him. He looked back at her and smiled. But this wasn't the same smile he had in the quarantine lab. It was a gentle, reassuring one. Good. She was surprised by that. What was he saying? He explained. One thing I've learned slowly and often painfully during the war was that you could never be ready for anything. You can try and prepare, but you are never ready. It sounded bleak, but it made sense. She nodded in thanks and they continued. At the end of the tunnel was a door. They stepped through and were back inside actual structures. This kinda looks like a maintenance area, the swagman remarked as she looked around. There were tables and tools scattered all around the place. Whatever it was, who they were looking for wasn't here. Keep moving, Naruto said, heading for the door on the other end. They followed him through the door to find another corridor. As they made their way through the corridors, Liara felt her nerves building with each step. She tried not to think about what would happen, but those thoughts hung at the edge of her mind. It didn't help when they came into a junction room with a lot of different doors. How do we know where to go? Liara asked, looking at each door. When in doubt, Shilia, follow the noise, Maya told her. What noise? Just then, a loud crash echoed past one of the doors. It ended abruptly, but they still heard it. That noise. They all walked through the door. It led to a large, spacious room. The middle of the room had tanks that were quite large, if not a little ominous. Above the tanks was a glass tube with metal casing. And inside that tube was a large arachne. What is that? Liara asked as they looked at the creature, keeping close to the door. If I had to guess, I would say that is the queen, Maya said. Her quip fell a little flat since she was too busy staring too. Komiai, can you hear her? Naruto asked the Nanabai. She's not saying anything, he told him. Well, if she was saying something, would you be able to hear her? I know you are there, the voice of Benizia echoed out through the room. She was standing on an elevated platform facing the glass case hanging in the air. She cut an intimidating figure in the black dress and helmet she wore. Her cold expression helped too. Ah crap, Naruto thought. He had been hoping to stay out of sight just a little longer so he could see more of the room. Liara had a different thought running through her head. Oh dear goddess. Her nerves were bundling up, making her scared. Come out, Benizia ordered, finally turning to look at them. Since they were already outed, they did as they were told. I know who you are, Naruto Uzumaki, she said to the blonde. You do not know the privilege of being a mother. He knew he shouldn't say something, but he couldn't resist. Of course not. I'm a guy, his tenants immediately groaned. Gaki, just keep your mouth shut, Kurama told him. Benizia didn't seem to be offended. In fact, she ignored him. There is power in creation. To shape a life. Turn it toward happiness or despair. Her eyes turned onto the queen. Her children were to be ours. Raised to hunt and slay Saren's enemies. After a few more seconds of watching, she turned towards them. I won't be moved by sympathy, no matter who you bring into this confrontation, she said, her eyes turning to her daughter. And what have you told him about me, Liara? What could I say, mother? Asked Liara. That you're insane? Evil? Should I explain how to kill you? What could I say? Her last question was practically a plea, but Benizia looked like she didn't hear it. Maya could see that Liara's nerves were all bundled up the wrong way. She placed a comforting hand in hers, which she took gratefully. Benizia saw the move and focused on the human. And who is this woman that you cling to? She asked. For the briefest moment, she sounded like a mother again. This is Maya Clayton, her daughter answered. We're together. The moment passed. Benizia looked at the swagman with nothing but coldness. She didn't say anything. That scared her daughter even more. Then she turned her gaze back on the shinobi. Have you faced an Asari commando unit? She asked him. Few humans have. Then I would be one of those few, he replied. He paused, looking almost thoughtful. And I have to say that I found them lacking. To the obvious person, it would have looked like that remark didn't anger the matriarch. But he could see the furrowing of her eyebrows and the clenching of her jaw. He got to her. Now to add on. He smirked. What you should really ask is if you've ever faced a shinobi like me. I highly doubt that you have. Benizia charged her biotics and threw them at the three of them. Naruto and Liara were able to avoid getting hit, but Maya didn't. She froze in place. The only movement she could make was with her eyes, and they were panicked. The doors on the other side of the room opened, commandos and Geth rushing in. You have your work cut out for you, Gaki, Kurama remarked as he watched the enemy grow. I can see that, the blonde replied. Fortunately for him and Liara, the frozen swagman didn't stay frozen for long. Maya became mobile after a few seconds, and immediately reached for her weapon. I got the commandos, she declared, aiming her rifle. The commandos saw her and promptly threw their biotics. Liara threw hers in return. She blocked some, but more got through. They scattered, each diving to avoid the biotics. You too good? Asked Naruto, coming out of his role with guns drawn. Yeah, the swagman answered. She took a knee and fired off a shot. It hit a commando's shield, making her take a step back. Maya saw it and kept shooting. Soon, the Asari was down. Liara stumbled back to her feet. Her dive had been awkward, but she was still alive. I am fine, she told Naruto. She took a few shots at the commandos as well, but she saw the Geth coming at them from another direction. She quickly turned her attention to them. Their position was rapidly becoming bad. If we stay put, we're going to get pinned. We have to stay put, Naruto said. If we move, they'll try to use that to separate and corner us. They were already getting cornered, but she realized what they had right now was strong. Then what do we do? You two take care of them as they come towards us. I'll deal with the ones who get too close. That's a shaky plan, Maya told him. A Geth got close. He attacked it with a flying kick, burying his foot in the chest. Then he shot the headpiece as it fell. It was destroyed by the time it hit the floor. You got any better ideas? He asked as he pulled his foot out. No, she answered. She fired at a commando. The shield started flickering and then fell. She took another shot and got her in the head. That was one down. Maya, look out! Liara cried, seeing one of the Geth take a shot. The swagman hit the floor, just avoiding the bullet. Liara took care of the Geth, shooting until it collapsed. Another Geth came towards her. She swung her pistol and kept shooting. But she wasn't careful, and the gun overheated. Forcing her to use her biotics, she lifted the Geth up and slammed it into the ground. One of the commandos saw her chance and rushed Liara. Naruto cut her off. She sneered at him as she brought her rifle up. She must have thought it was an easy fight. He corrected that thought by her with his pistols and sending her to the floor with a bullet through the neck. Once she was done, he turned to the next commando. He got in close, forcing her to use her gun as a makeshift shield. Why is she just standing there? Matatabi asked aloud. What? He asked back, more focused on his fight. The shield was easily battered away. The commando went down after her shields did. Benizia, she's just standing on that platform. He took a moment to see what she was talking about, and saw that Benizia was indeed just standing at the console on the platform. She was watching, but did nothing to help her commandos. The Asari he was fighting took advantage, knocking him down with a well-placed kick. He hit the ground hard, momentarily dazed. She tried to press her advantage and take him out. Maya saw it and turned her rifle on her, opening fire. She was forced back away from the blonde as her shields were whittled away until they were gone. Maya didn't stop. She shot the commando 5 or 6 times, each in an area that would kill her. Thanks, Naruto told the swagman. He noticed the Higeth were getting too close for comfort. That wasn't good. Maya noticed the same thing. But while he attacked them, she had a different idea. How about some clones, mate? He threw down the Geth he had and stepped back. Good idea. Why didn't he think of that in the first place? Oh right, he had plenty in his arsenal. He holstered his guns and folded his hands together. That was when Benizia acted, channeling and throwing her biotics at him. He didn't see it in time and froze. Fucking hell! Swore Maya when she saw that happen. Liara saw it too. So that was her plan, she thought to herself. She waited for him to try and use chakra and froze him. Just like her mother to think like that. The Geth had also seen what happened. They moved forward to attack. Liara channeled her own biotics and threw it at them. It was a stroke of luck that she sent them flying over the rail into the liquid below. She was just hoping to knock them down. Still, the sound of them hissing and melting into nothing was pleasant. With the Geth gone, she turned her attention to the commandos. She threw her biotics again, this time trying to send them upward. Most of them were able to use their own biotics to deflect the attack. The slow ones drifted upwards fast. Thanks, Shalia, Maya said, lining up the shots. With the airborne commandos, it was like shooting fish in a barrel. Naruto unfroze. What the hell happened? He demanded, a little confused. Nice to have you back, mate. The swagman told him, shooting down another commando. Mother froze you, Liara quickly explained. She didn't want you to use your chakra. I guess that answers the question of whether she's fought a shinobi like you, Gyuki remarked. Look out! Maya suddenly shouted. Naruto saw Benizia channeling her biotics and hit the ground, letting them fly overhead. He pulled out his guns and began shooting at the commandos. He kept shooting as he kneeled. Once the commandos' shields were down, Maya and Liara took care of them. By the time he got back on his feet, there were only few commandos left in their way. But the rest weren't going to just lie down. If they wanted to end this fight, it was best to go for the main problem. And Naruto would do just that. I'm going for Benizia, he told his teammates, charging for the stairs. The commandos tried to stop him, but they were frozen by Liara's biotics. Naruto knocked them aside and Maya took them out. Benizia hadn't moved a single inch yet. She looked like she had been forced back from the fight. This is not over, she declared. Saren is unstoppable. My mind is filled with his light. Everything is clear. Benizia, you've seen what Saren and Sovereign has done, Naruto said. Why do you insist on following them? He hadn't drawn his guns, but his balance was shifted. If she moved, so would he. I will not let you disrespect Saren, she shouted, channeling her biotics once more. This time, she glowed brighter and more furious than before. For a moment, he thought that she would attack him, but her eyes shifted to the side and he did the same, seeing Liara and Maya reach the top of the staircase. Guys, look, oh you! He called out to them. But he didn't even finish before they were frozen in place. Can we take it? How much biotic power does this woman have? He silently demanded. She's a matriarch, Naruto, son told him. She's bound to be powerful. Not only that, but with her experience, she's bound to be good too, Isabu added. He didn't reply, choosing to attack. He would only have to hold out for a few seconds before Maya and Liara would be unfrozen. So far, it seemed biotics worked at a distance. If he got in close, she wouldn't be able to use them on him. He moved forward, keeping low, and gave her a hard uppercut to her chin. She took the blow without any sign of pain. Did you think it would be that easy? She asked, grabbing hold of his arm. I had to try, he replied. He twisted their bodies around and around until he felt her grip slacken. He pulled his hand free and attacked. Benizia was no slouch in taijutsu, it seemed. Every punch and kick he threw, she could match. Her gaze never wandered, always watching him, seeing what he would do next. It almost felt like he was fighting Sasuke, just without the Sharingan. If he wanted to keep this a straight-up fight, he would be in a lot of trouble, but he wasn't keeping it a straight-up fight. He was a shinobi. He fought dirty and he had been doing it since before the war. He threw cheap shots, took blows that he could have avoided to hit her, and used everything he could think of short of spitting in her face. That was just gross and he was sure it wouldn't work. He tried to knee her in the stomach. She stopped it with a hand and knocked him to the ground. He landed hard, his shoulder numbing for a moment, but pushed back up into a kick. He caught her in the shoulder, then swung around to get the other side. She caught them and pushed back, unbalancing him. He fell to the ground again, and she flared her biotics. He saw them coming and rolled out of the way. She threw consecutive blasts, forcing him to roll several times. When they stopped, he came back up and faced her. "What's going on?" he asked himself. Liara and Maya should have moved by now. Naruto, take a look," Matatabi told him. He did. They were still frozen. "Oh great," he mentally grumbled. "Gaki, you don't have time to be mentally grumbling," Kurama admonished him. "You've got an Asari matriarch intent on wiping you out. I know that." He charged at Benizia, spinning a kick. She caught it, but he used the momentum to off-balance her, throwing her to the ground. She hit the floor and he kept her down, locking her arm behind her. "Benizia, just stop," he told her. She openly snarled at him. "I will not betray Saren." "You are nothing," she told him, struggling to get free. But even as she spoke, there were several emotions flying across her face. Something was going on. "You will die." "You will." She stopped speaking and closed her eyes. Her struggling lessened. Naruto didn't know what she was doing, but he didn't let go. "I will what?" he asked. "What will I do, Benizia?" She opened her eyes. There was something different in them. "Listen, don't have time," she said to him in short gasps of breath, like she struggled to speak. "Can fight indoctrination, but not for long." "Too strong," she explained. He narrowed his eyes. "How do I know that this isn't a trick? Sealed portion of mind away for chance to fight indoctrination." He wasn't sure if that was true. Then again, he didn't really know what a matriarch could do. "If that's true, then you can help me, right?" "Right," she said, nodding her head. She sounded stronger, more in control. "Why are you here?" "What are you doing with the Rachni?" "Saren sent me. Find exact location of my relay." The Rachni knew its location. They have access to genetic memories. Queens know what their mothers know. He frowned. "You took the information from the queen and gave it to Saren already, didn't you?" She just nodded. Fuck. If Saren had the information already, he had a much bigger lead now. "Can still help you," she told him. "How?" With her free hand, she reached into a small pocket in her dress and pulled out an OSD. "Put information on this after sending it to Saren, just in case of something like this." He put it in his pocket. Her breathing was getting more and more rapid. "Benizia, what's wrong?" he asked, concerned and worried. "Losing control, feel him coming back," she panted. He took that to mean she was feeling the indoctrination coming back and held her arm tighter in response. "You have to fight it." "Can't too much," she told him. "You have to." "Can't, teeth are at ear, fingers on my spine." "Fight it." I am sorry. Shit, I'm losing her." He thought in half a panic. He didn't know what to do to stop her from falling back into that darkness. She whispered something, but he only caught the end. "What?" he asked. "Liara," Benizia repeated, looking at her frozen daughter. Even though she was fighting a losing battle, the look she gave was full of love. Tell her proud of her. You should tell her that yourself." "Can you hold on long enough to do that?" he asked. Just how long that stasis was going to hold out for, anyway. The look on her face told him that she wanted to. She wanted to do just that so much. "No, I can't. I can't hold on." "Please tell her." Suddenly, an idea came to him. It was risky and probably very stupid, but it was something he could do to help her. "Benizia, look at me," he told her, letting go of her arm. She turned her head and he took hold of it with his hands, making them look each other in the eyes. She realized what he was doing and agreed wholeheartedly. When Liara and Maya finally unfroze, they saw their commander and Liara's mother in that position. Liara thought she knew what was happening and reacted accordingly. "Mother, let go of him," she shouted. Benizia looked at the two of them with a glare of hate. She tossed the specter to the side and got back to her feet. "Die!" she snarled at them. She charged with her biotics flaring bright. Both Liara and Maya were ready to fight but were surprised when Naruto suddenly got back up and tackled Benizia. They rolled around on the ground for a few seconds before Naruto came up with his arms around Benizia's neck. The moment that followed was long and felt longer still due to the silence. Then, Naruto finally spoke. "You two, head for the tram station now." He had seen the door on the other side of the room, and knew that the sign above it meant that it led back to the tram. But the two of them weren't going to leave that easily. "What are you going to do, mate?" Maya asked him. "What does it look like I'm going to do?" he asked back as he continued to hold the struggling matriarch in place. Liara's eyes went wide, realizing what he meant. The position of his arms made it obvious too. "No," she said in a strangled whisper. He didn't look her in the eye. "It has to be done, Liara." "No, it doesn't. There must be some way to save her. She's been indoctrinated." "There's no way to save her. This is a mercy and you know it." Tears began to appear in her eyes. This was the very thing she was afraid of happening. This was why she was afraid they might win. "Mother!" she called out to Benizia, only to get a snarl of anger and hatred. "Just go already, Liara!" he ordered. She ignored him. "Mother, please fight it," she begged. But as she ignored him, Benizia ignored her. "Maya, take her to the tram station," Naruto told the swagman. "You got it, sir," she said, taking a hold of Liara. "Come on, Liara. We have to go." "No, I know we can save her," Liara replied stubbornly, fighting somewhat against her hold. "I'm not leaving until we get through to her." Naruto knew she would. That's why he didn't want her to see what happened next. "Get her out of here, Maya, now!" he ordered. "Come on, Shalia," Maya said, all but dragging her out of the large room. Liara struggled for a couple of minutes, making their exit longer than it needed to be. But once she saw that there was nothing she could do, she stopped. She let the swagman lead her out, tears leaking down her eyes. Naruto didn't do anything until he heard the door leading to the tram station close. His grip on the struggling Asari matriarch never once wavered. Now, he had to do it. "I'm sorry," he told Benizia. With very little effort, he snapped her neck, killing her instantly. She went limp in his hands. She placed her gently on the floor. He stood up and went over to the railing to look at the glass cage that held the Arachne Queen. He placed his hand against it and looked through the glass. The queen was still and had not moved all throughout the fight. "Komiai, could you be able to translate?" he asked the Nanabai. "I might be," Komiai answered. "Hold on a second." The blonde did as he was asked and felt a strange sensation come over his body. "All right, go ahead." He tapped the glass. "Can you hear me?" he called out to the Arachne Queen. She swung her head towards him. A voice spoke next to his ear. "How can you sing to us? Your music is colorless and yet you sing brightly. How is this possible?" He frowned puzzledly. "What do you mean by singing and music? Your way of communicating should be flat and not color the air. But when you speak, the air is filled with colors so bright, we cannot help but look. I am speaking to the queen in the glass cage, correct?" He probably was, but he had to be sure. "We are the mother. We sing for those left behind. The children you thought silenced. We are Arachne," she answered. "The children we birthed were stolen from us before they could learn to sing. They are lost to silence. End their suffering. They cannot be saved. They will only cause harm as they are." His face hardened. "You are their mother and yet you would condemn them to death? Why would you want that? These needlemen, they stole our eggs from us. They sought to turn our children into beasts of war. Claws with no songs of their own," she answered. "Our elders are comfortable with silence. Children only know fear if no one sings to them. Fear has shattered their mind." Those words chilled him. He could hear the pain in them. The queen knew what she was asking him and it hurt her. "Are you sure that there is no other way?" he asked. "It is lamentable, but necessary," she answered. "Do what you must." "All right, give me a moment." He reached for the comm and contacted the team in the hot labs. "Ash, come in." "Sir, I was just about to contact you," Ashley said. "We found a way to kill off the Arachne here in the hot labs. They're all here." "Use it," he ordered her. There was a pause, then she spoke again. "Commander, could you please repeat?" He restrained the urge to roll his eyes. "What exactly did you find that will kill the Arachne?" "I'm not the scientist, so most of what the guy said about the thing went over my head. But what I understood was that there was a neuron purge that will kill them." "Then use it," he ordered her again. "The Arachne are done for. They're nothing more but mindless beasts now." "How do you know that, sir?" "Their mother told me." "You're talking to the Arachne Queen?" Rex asked, joining the conversation. "I hope you're planning to kill her when you're done with her." "Why would I do that, Rex? She's a fucking Arachne Queen, that's why." The Krogan shouted through the comm, making the blonde wince. "You kill her, and you will make the Arachne extinct. You're not making a good case here. Have you ever heard of the Arachne Wars? That alone is enough reason to wipe them out. Just do us all a favor, Uzumaki, and kill that bug." "Rex, the sins of the mother are not the daughter's to inherit. the spectre told him before removing his hand from the calm, effectively ending the conversation. He looked back at the queen. It's done, he told her. What will you sing now? She asked him. What do you mean? Will you release us? Are we to fade away once more? He grimaced at the implications. Are you really asking me if I'm going to kill you or not? You have the power to free us, or return our people to the silence of memory. He felt something staring at the back of his head, and a chill crawled up his spine. It felt like someone was giving him a glare that would probably kill him if he turned to look. He had a funny feeling about who it was. Shino, is that you? He asked without turning around. The feeling directed at the back of his head disappeared just as quickly as it had appeared. He wasn't sure if Shino's ghost was standing behind him or not. But it didn't matter anymore. The queen hadn't seemed to notice who he was talking to. Will you give us a chance to compose anew? She asked. He nodded in agreement. We will remember. We will sing of your forgiveness to our children. He went to the console, pressed the necessary keys to input the release code, and watched in silence as the glass cage rose up into the air and latched itself onto an exit point. The queen looked down at him one more time. We will disappear, her voice told him. You will never hear of us again, we promise. That being said, she went through the exit and disappeared from sight. The unit had reached Noveria before its charge had. It followed standard procedure and observed from a distance, assisting when it was needed. It watched from when its charge stepped off his ship, uttering his usual words, to letting the Rachni Queen go free. The last did not seem logical. History of Rachni showed if able, they would repopulate and be a danger to the galaxy again. The unit's charge should have killed the Queen, but he didn't. Why? Did he know something the unit did not? Perhaps it warranted further investigation. But it would track the Rachni Queen for now, see where she will go. If she went near any non-empty planets, the unit could send a forewarning. For now, it would watch. Location, the Normandy. Is this report accurate, Commander? You found Rachni on Noveria? The hologram of Counselor Tevos asked. Yes, we did, Naruto answered, standing in the comm room. And then you released the Queen? Sparatus practically shouted at him. Do you have any idea what you've done? How many generations until they overrun the galaxy? That won't happen, he told him, keeping his temper cooled. The Queen promised me that she will not bother us again. The Turian counselor snorted at those words. I hope you're right about that, Uzumaki. Otherwise our grandchildren will be the ones to pay the price. It would have been better if you had killed the Queen. He glared hard at the Turian for those words. I am not a murderer, he said in a quiet but deadly voice. The council shared a look with one another, and then looked at him. Thank you, Commander, that will be all, Tevos told him before they disappeared. Seeing that he was done there, he turned around and walked out of the room. But even as his feet took him to the medical bay, his mind was on Noveria. After the Queen had been released and the Rachni in the hot labs had been killed, the team had gone back to the survivors' camp to tell them that they could leave. But when they got there, they found the entire security team dead, and the civilians had not seen who did it. Is our mysterious stalker taking things a step further? He wondered. That was a chilling thought just by itself. But he didn't ponder it for long as he stepped into the medical bay. Dr. Chukwas, he said as a passing greeting while he walked for the door leading to the storage area. Liera, he said to the Asari sitting down in the chair. She had been quiet since they left Noveria. She heard his voice but kept looking at the wall. You needn't worry about me, Commander, she told him. Benezia brought her death on herself. He stood there, looking at the back of her head. That was different than what he had seen on Noveria. She was your mother, he said. This time, she turned around to look at him. She was, and she wasn't. I prefer to remember her as she used to be, before she was corrupted by Sovereign's power. Is there anything else you wish to talk to me about? Not talk about, no. But I would like to show you something. If you would please meld with me? He asked. She raised a questioning eyebrow. Why? Do you have more images? No, but I do have something to show you. Wordlessly, she stood up from her chair and approached him, her gait becoming sensual as it had before. She stood before him and closed her eyes. Embrace eternity, she said, opening her eyes again to show their blackness. She found herself standing alone in the darkness of the blonde's mind. The odd thing was that she did not see any of the 9 bijus standing around her like last time. She walked forward a few paces and looked around. There was nothing besides her. Where are they? She asked aloud. Hello, little wing, said her mother's voice from behind her. Eyes going wide, she quickly spun around. She wasn't imagining it. Her mother was standing before her. But it was not the same Benezia she had seen on Noveria. This was the Benezia she remembered from her childhood, when things were much easier and happier between the two of them. She did not wear the black dress and helmet, but rather a simple dress of dark green. "Mother?" she asked. The word left her mouth before she could stop herself. Benezia smiled. "I'm glad that we have this chance to talk to one another, Liara, when we didn't have it on Noveria. But how is this possible? I sealed a part of my mind away when I felt the indoctrination become too strong. The seal was broken when I fought your commander, and I told him what I could. But I was fading fast and I had not yet said anything to you. So, at great personal risk, Naruto Uzumaki melded with me and carried the part of my mind that was still mine away from me, so I could have a moment with you." A wave of emotions filled her at those words, but she fought them down. She had to. "Why?" she asked. "Why would you have one last moment with me? You are my daughter. Is that not reason enough?" It was, but that wasn't everything. The last time we had seen each, before Noveria, we argued and fought, leaving things on a bad note. Benezia waved it away. "That does not matter. I had forgiven you for that fight before I had gone to Saren. Now that was a question that needed to be answered. Why did you go to Saren, mother?" Her mother was silent at first. For a moment, Liara didn't think she would answer. "When I first heard of what Saren was doing, whispers that the council would gladly turn a blind ear to, I went to him so I could try and turn him to a better path," she finally explained. "I tried to be a silent hand to guidance, and I thought that I was strong. But I was indoctrinated by Sovereign almost laughably easy and my commandos, and I became Saren's knife in the dark." The more she listened, the more Liara became angry at the Turian. "He must pay," she declared. "He has to pay for what he has done to the galaxy. He deserves no mercy." To her surprise, her mother shook her head. "Do not be so quick to condemn him, Liara. Saren is a person of secrets, even from Sovereign. Secrets that he had entrusted to me that showed that he was still his own man at times." To hear that surprised Liara, wiping away her anger. "What secrets?" But Benezia faded before she could get an answer. "Mother!" she shouted panically. She scanned the darkness, hoping to find her. She appeared just as soon as she had disappeared. "I'm sorry, Liara. It looks like our time together is ending. I just wanted you to know that I have always been proud of you. But there is just one thing I want to know before I go." Liara knew why that last word sounded so hard. But she chose not to think about it. This was already so much. "What? You and that human Maya, is it serious?" That's what she wanted to hear before she disappeared. All of a sudden, Liara felt like a teenager again. She couldn't even keep eye contact with her mother, looking down at the watery floor. Was she the only one who felt the silence was awkward? "It is," she finally admitted. "Good." Liara felt a ghostly hand on her chin that lifted her head up to look at Benezia. "I love you, Liara, and I will always be proud of you. Remember that, little wing." She disappeared from sight. Liara opened her eyes and found herself back on the Normandy, standing in front of Naruto. Without saying a word, she grabbed hold of him and held him tightly. She didn't say anything, due to the tears streaming down her eyes. She just hugged him. He didn't resist. I've got ya," he told her. "Do you want me to get Maya?" He felt her shake her head in his stomach, so he continued to hold her. Codex entry: Humanity and the Systems Alliance Fangirl War. Probably the only war in history with no casualties, the Fangirl War of Earth lasted for about 5 years during the 1000s and was only taken semi-seriously by the people who weren't fangirls. The exact reason for the start of the war is not really known, and according to human historian, they don't want to know, but what was known is that the war began with a fight between two different groups because of an argument. It then escalated when a third group got involved and soon spread throughout the elemental nations. Groups of fangirls who had the same POW banded together in alliances and began to plan attacks on rival groups. Mass fighting between groups broke out in civilian and shinobi towns alike, and territory lines were quickly made. The war escalated even more when other nations heard of the fighting and their fangirls joined in. While there were no casualties in the war, there was property damage and plenty of it. One would not have able to go a village, town, or city and not see something that had been severely damaged or destroyed in the course of the war, even more so when kunoichi and military fangirls started to join, for about 50 years to a century afterwards. A popular saying was the only thing more terrifying than a fangirl is a chakra-wielding fangirl. The war ended when the POWs of the various fangirl factions came together and asked that they stopped fighting. The fighting stopped practically as soon as they asked, and the fangirls went back to their lives. The oddest thing about the fangirl war was that the people who weren't involved often watched the fights happen. Apparently, The most difficult decision they had was whether to get a snack or the video camera. Chapter 29. How to Escape Stupid Orders. Location: Citadel Tower. As soon as the elevator stopped and the doors opened, Naruto stepped out and started walking through the anteroom. "Move it, people!" he told his team, those who could come anyway. "We're coming, sir," Ashley said, leading the group. "Calm down, Gaki," Kurama said as he hurried. "You're liable to burst out of your skin with all that excitement you've got bottled up." "You know that's not going to happen, Fox," he replied. "Besides, how could I not be just a little bit excited? The council is finally doing something about Saren." After Noveria, just before they were to follow Benezia's coordinates for the Mu relay, they got word from the Citadel. The council was putting together a joint species fleet to finally deal with Saren. They had orders from Udina to come back to the Citadel. Naruto had no problems obeying. When they had reached the Citadel, he went straight for the tower. He approached the council and his team fell back to give him some room. He stood alongside Udina. "Good job, Uzumaki," the ambassador told him. "Thanks to you, the council's finally taking real action against Saren." "The ambassador is correct," Tevos said from where she stood above them. "If Saren is foolish enough to attack the Citadel, we will be ready for him." "Patrols are stationed at every mass relay linking Citadel space to the terminus systems," Spiratus told the humans. The hope and excitement that Naruto held started to diminish when he heard. "A blockade?" he said. "That's all you're doing to stop him?" They were going to need more than that. "If Saren tries to reach the Citadel, he will be met with opposition every step of the way," Tevos said to him, the undercurrent he knew she used on purpose coming back. "For now, that is enough." "No, it's not," he protested. "What we need right now is not a blockade. What we need right now is a fleet to go through that relay to Ilos and stop Saren before he finds the conduit. I will gladly have the Normandy be at the head of the fleet. That relay, as you've put it, Commander Uzumaki, is the Mu relay, and that is the only way to Ilos. It is also deep inside the terminus system," Valen told him, cutting him off. "If we send a fleet in there, the only possible outcome is full-scale war." Udina looked at Naruto. "Now is the time for discretion, Commander," he explained. Saren's greatest weapon was secrecy. Exposed, he is no longer a threat. This is over. "No, it is not over," the blonde told him. He looked back at the council. "If you're not going to send in the fleet, send me. I've been hunting Saren this way ever since you gave me the mission. I'll be able to get to Ilos without creating a mess." "You detonated a nuclear device on Vermeer, and you don't call that making a mess?" Spiratus demanded, pointing an accusing finger at him. "What would you have me do? Leave it standing?" he demanded in return. "Your style served you well in the Traverse, Commander Naruto," Tevos told him, trying to sound placating, but that undercurrent was still there. "We recognize that. But Ilos requires a deft touch." "Your idea of a deft touch is not touching at all," he said bluntly. "It's like trying to touch a woman to get her aroused, but all you end up doing is undressing her with your eyes." Tevos huffed. This was getting tiresome. "Could you please not be vulgar, Commander?" she asked. Despite the seriousness of the situation, everyone who heard those words looked at her with disbelief. "You know, we haven't been in this time for long, but I'm pretty sure we've been here long to know that we never would have expected those words to come from an Asari," Matatabi stated. "I guess there is such a thing as an Asari prude," Gyuki remarked. "I'd hate to be her kid." Ignoring the comments by the Biju, Naruto pressed on. "In any case, Saren isn't the real threat. He just serves Sovereign, a freaking Reaper. For the love of Kami, I told you guys this already," he told the council. But Tevos already had an answer for him. "Only you have seen the Reapers. And only in visions," she said. "We won't invade the terminus system because of a dream." That wasn't the answer he wanted to hear. Just what the hell were these people thinking? "Ambassador Udina, I get the sense that Commander Uzumaki won't let this go," Spiratus remarked in a deceptively calm voice. Udina opened his mouth, but Naruto beat him to the punch. "You're damn right about that," he shouted up at the Turian. "I've given the location of where Saren's gone, how to get there, and why he went, but all you want to do is put up a blockade and then sit on your ass." He looked at all four of them. "How about some action from you people?" he demanded. "There are serious political implications here, Commander Uzumaki," Udina told him with a sharp warning tone. "Humanity's made great gains thanks to you. But now you're becoming more trouble than you're worth." The Blonde's team heard everything and they were angry. But it was their leader who spoke what they felt. "You son of a bitch, you're taking their side on this?" Naruto asked, pointing to the council. The ambassador took a few steps forward so he wasn't exactly even with him. "It's just politics, Commander," he replied easily. You've done your job, now let me do mine. We've locked out all the Normandy's primary systems. Until further notice, you're grounded. What? Shouted Ashley from below. If they had looked back, they would have seen her being restrained by Geras and Maya so she wouldn't do something stupid. Udina only gave her a passing glance before looking at Naruto. I think it's time for you and your team to leave, Commander. This no longer concerns you. The Council can handle this. With my help, of course, he added that last bit with a hint of smugness. Naruto stared at all of them there. The next time I see you people, I'm bringing 4 large tubs full of sand, he said. That way, you can have a nice, comfortable place to stick your head in so you can pretend to not see the problem in front of you, because your asses must be completely worn out by now. He turned around and walked away, frustrated anger showing in his pace. An hour, the counselors met privately. There is a risk having Commander Uzumaki here on the Citadel, Valen said immediately. He knew Tevos and Sparatus were thinking about it too. Yes, there is, Sparatus agreed. With the way the tribe had been operating recently, there was no doubt in their minds they would go after the human specter. Tevos leaned back in her chair, feeling a little more than tired. Is there anything we can do to prevent it? She asked. Despite what he might think of her, she rather liked Naruto. His straightforwardness and practically blunt were refreshingly honest. It reminded her of her childhood and her sisters. We could try, Sparatus said. But would it actually have any meaning? Valen shook his head. I doubt it would. The tribe is getting too strong. It was a risk when they allowed the group to be created. He had thought they had put in enough restrictions. Either they hadn't, or the tribe was just ignoring them. Both were plausible. The Turian considered their options. How soon could we move the commander off the Citadel? He's grounded by the Alliance, Tevos said. They have the final say on whether he's grounded. He's also a specter. He falls under our supervision. That was true, but it also raised more problems than it should have. If we argue that point, Udina will get suspicious and will dig. If he dug, there was a very good chance he'd discover the tribe. Perhaps we could place an undercover watch on Naruto. That way, if the tribe do try and take him, they'll be there to assist. It was plausible and could work, if done right. But Valen saw another way. What if we leaked his situation? He asked the other two. To the other side? The looks they gave him showed their disbelief. Sparatus found his voice first. They'd never believe it. They might. If the other side knew about the commander's predicament, they would most likely move the galaxy to protect him. Tevos could see the upside to that, but there was also a downside. They could place a mole on our side, she pointed out. It's a risk we'd have to take. He looked at the Turian and Asari. Are we at least agreed that Commander Uzumaki is to be silently protected? They nodded. Then we need to find a method of protection. Otherwise the tribe would try to get him. Naruto walked through Huerta Memorial Hospital's lobby, heading right for the front desk. He had gone straight from the tower, wanting to talk to Nihilus. I'm here to see Nihilus Cryek, Naruto told the receptionist. She was an Asari, a young one if he had to guess. She glanced up at him before checking her computer. I'm sorry, she said. But Mr. Cryek went into surgery half an hour ago. Is it bad? He asked, worried. I'm not allowed to say, sir. Is there anything else you require? No, thank you. He could have gone to entertain the children like he had done every time they landed at the Citadel, but now, he knew he wouldn't have the right energy. He walked away and found a chair. He had a good view of the Presidium. It looked peaceful enough, but he knew that could vanish in an instant. There were plenty of times like that during the war. One moment a village or town was peaceful, the next it was being destroyed. I can't let that happen to this place, he thought as he remembered the war. The fires, the collapsed buildings, the Obito's followers destroying and killing everything in their path, and the screaming. No matter how hard he tried to block it out, he could always hear the screaming in his dreams. It had many variations and ranges, but it all had one basic sound, please help. But if the council wasn't going to even try and stop Saren, what had happened during the war would happen here, probably just as quickly. And that would be a horrifying thing to even consider. Something had to be done. As he looked out the window, someone else sat down next to him. I heard what happened, Commander, Anderson said to him in way of greeting. Thank you for reminding me, he replied. If it's any consolation, I wanted to warn you, but there was no way to get a message to you before you docked. Yeah, well, next time I get orders from the council to come back when I'm about to get someone, I'll just go get the guy and ignore them. He made no attempt to hide the derision in his voice. Naruto, I know you're mad right now and quite frankly, I think you have a right to be. But you can't give up. The council and Udina think this is all over, but we know it's not, Anderson told him. You have to go to Ilos. You have to stop Saren from using the conduit. And how am I going to do that when the only ship that could possibly get into the terminus system without pissing the people there off is grounded? He asked pointedly. I have a way around that. If we override the ambassador's orders, we can get them to bring the Normandy back online. You can be in the terminus system before anyone even knows you're gone. He looked at the Normandy's former captain. Anderson, if we do this, you will be the one in trouble. He wasn't going to let a friend to take the fall for something he would be doing, and if Saren finds the conduit, life as we know it will be over. The Reapers will destroy us. Humans, Asari, everybody, declared Anderson. You're the only one who can stop him, Naruto. So I'll do whatever it takes to get you on the Normandy and off this station. And if the crew doesn't want to follow me? I'm pretty sure that taking the Normandy like that is supposed to be called mutiny. The Normandy's your ship now, Commander, he reminded the blonde. Her crew will follow you to the ends of the galaxy. We both know that. That's true. I have seen them look at you with respect and occasional wonder, Komiai told his Jinchuriki. I can unlock the Normandy from one of the consoles in the Citadel Control Center, Anderson explained. You'll have a few minutes before anyone realizes what's happened. That'll be dangerous. Are you sure that there's not a different way to do it? He thought it over for a moment. Perhaps, he finally admitted. Ambassador Udina issued the lockdown order. If I can hack the computer in his office, maybe I can override it. You know he won't let you use it like that. Hopefully, he won't be there. If he is, I'll just have to think of something. Look, we don't have a lot of options. I break into the ambassador's computer, or I take my chances with the patrols and Citadel Control. He gave his former captain a look. You're the one who would do it. Why are you asking me? It's not every day you get to ask for an opinion from a legendary shinobi. It was said with such a straight face, it puzzled the Biju. Is he kidding, or is he being serious? Shikaka asked, very confused. I can't tell, Koko told him. Does it matter? The Gaki is going to give him the opinion, Kurama said with a definitive tone in his voice. And how do you know that? Sun asked him. If you want my opinion, you should try the ambassador's office, Naruto told Anderson. You have less of a chance of getting caught, and if you do, you can always punch Udina. He ignored the fox gloating in his mind. I'm hoping that the ambassador will be there. He's made this personal. They looked each other in the eye. You ready to get the hell off this station, Commander? Of course I am, Naruto told him. I'll leave first. Wait a few minutes before leaving yourself. He stood up from the chair and walked out the hospital. As he walked through the Citadel, he sent an email to the team and the crew, telling them to head back to the ship if they were ashore. Musashi looked over the information from where he sat at his dinner table. Is this accurate? He asked Hajime. He nodded. It is. Are you sure? Hajime didn't exactly have good standing with him or the task force after the ambush. He knew that. That was why he had dug into every contact he had, tracked down all the information he could get. He was sure about what he had. I am. The Huntress is here on the Citadel. If they moved fast, they could grab her before she would be able to get away. The cop looked over the info one more time, making sure he didn't miss anything. The time and location were like stone in his mind. All right, he said, standing. He quickly grabbed his gun and the bakken. Let's go. They walked out the apartment at a brisk pace. It took Hajime a few moments before he realized something else. Shouldn't we call the others? No, Musashi said as he signaled for a sky car. He snapped his eyes to his lord. Are you serious? We're going in alone? I'd say that I would be going in alone, but I know that you wouldn't stay behind. Well, he felt a little flattered by that. It meant his lord knew him well, possibly even accepted him. But they were still going in alone. Why are we doing this? Because what I'm going to do the Huntress will cause intense scrutiny, possible even causing me to be dismissed from CCC. They're going to need alibis. The sky car flew down and landed in front of them. Musashi looked at him. You can stay if you want. It was a suggestion, not an order. But Hajime's back straightened all the same. I'm your man. You lead, I'll follow. That seemed to be the right answer. They both got into the sky car. Location, the Normandy. What came afterwards was one of the tensest moments in Naruto's life. The crew and team were all aboard, but not without some grumbling from a few of them. Now they were waiting on was the green light. Naruto stood beside Joker, watching the light flash red again and again on the screen. When it finally turned green and the screen reported the clamps were taken off, Joker had the ship off the Citadel quicker than one could blink. They followed the coordinates to the Mu relay and went through it, heading towards Ilos. But that wasn't the end of their problems. Commander? Joker called out. We've got company. Naruto had been at the map and all but sprinted to the cockpit. What is it? He immediately asked. Ashley, Liara, and Tali followed in behind him. A fleet of Geth's ships around Ilos, the pilot answered. Have their sensors picked us up yet? Liara asked, instantly being all business. No, the stealth systems are engaged. Unless we get close enough for a visual, they won't have any idea we're here. Presley was working the computer beside Joker. Picking up some strange readings from the planet's surface, he announced. Joker, get us down there, Naruto ordered. Negative on that, Commander, his navigator told him, looking at him. Why? The nearest landing zone's 2 clicks away. We'll never make it on foot, Ashley said, arms crossed and frowning just like Sasuke. Really, it was freaky how much she looked like him at that moment. Get us something closer. There is nowhere closer. I looked. He snapped at her. They needed another option. What about the Mako? Would that work? Naruto asked. You need at least 100 meters of open terrain to pull off a drop like that, Presley protested. The most I can find near Saren is 20. 20 meters? Repeated Ashley. No way we can make a drop in there. We have to try, Liara said. She looked at the Asari. Could she not see it was a problem? Find another landing zone, she ordered Presley. There is no other landing zone, he told her. He's right, Tali agreed, looking over his shoulder at the readout. The descent angle's too steep. She knew her math, and that angle was too steep. It's our only option, Liara argued. It's not an option. It's a suicide run, Ashley told her, getting annoyed at the fact rather than her. We don't. I can do it. Joker's voice rang out, cutting everyone else off. All eyes fell on him. I can do it, he said again, quieter but still confident. Are you sure about that, Joker? Naruto asked him. His pilot turned and looked him right in the eye. With respect, Commander, but I am the best damn pilot in the Alliance fleet. If I say I can do it, I can do it. He smiled, remembering what Ashley had said on Vermeer. Good. He leaned in and activated the ship intercom. Team, armor up and get into the Mako, he ordered. This drop is going to be a tight one. He turned and walked out of the cockpit. Time to play the game. To everyone's credit, no one screamed in fear as the hangar bay door opened and the world beneath was a lot closer than what they were used to. Geras just slammed the gas and the Mako flew out onto Ilos. He instantly engaged the microthrusters, pushing them all into their seats hard. The feeling stopped when the Mako landed hard on the ground, but they were jostled around in their seats. Everyone good? Asked Naruto, looking from the shotgun seat. We're fine. Where's Saren? Liara asked. From what I'm reading, he's ahead of us, Geras answered, glancing at the Mako's radar. Tali immediately went to the front. You mean beyond the very large door right in front of us? She asked, looking out the window. He saw the same thing she did. Yeah, that would be it. That thing is huge. It was easily 3 times the size of the Mako, and even though it was old, it looked strong as well. She doubted the Mako's guns could even make a hole in it. Huge or not, we have to go through that to follow Saren. Hold up, Ashley said, already standing at the turret scope. We got incoming. Is it the Geth? Naruto demanded, looking back at her. Yes, sir, she answered. How many? I can't give you an exact answer, sir. Fuck. That many? Yeah, that many, she answered, watching the horde of Geth come right at the Mako. Never had the fact she couldn't see the end of something unnerved her. Well, start shooting already. Aye, Commander. She pulled the trigger and started spraying the Geth with bullets and cannon. Everyone else out, he ordered. Biotics and Geras up top, the rest of us go out through the bottom. They all did as they were ordered, quickly getting out of the Mako. Once they were outside, they saw the horde coming at them. Fuck me sideways, Rex swore. I'd rather not, Rex. I'd really rather not, Geras said, having heard the Krogan from where he was laying. Who said I was talking to you? Hey, focus on the Geth or I will find that priest when we get back. Naruto told the 2 of them. They both shivered at the threat. Got it, they both answered. Oh look, they're speaking in unison now, Komiai remarked. Maybe they are meant to be together. A Krogan and Turian getting together? Said Shikaku with a very obvious look of disgust at the thought. I feel like I'm going to throw up just by thinking about it. Then don't think about it, Isaba told him. It's too late. The image is in my head. It won't come out. Silence from the peanut gallery. Naruto ordered them as he drew his pistols. He didn't need to hear the commentary right now. He opened fire, and the others did as well. The horde didn't stall its charge. It was too strong to stop like that. Rex saw a way to slow them down and break their formation too. Liara, thumping low, said Rex. Both Krogan and Asari charged, channeled, and threw their biotics at the ground in front of the horde. The bowling effect didn't reach very far and the Geth were still moving, but they had slowed and they weren't in a tight formation. The team had a little more breathing room. It didn't last long. Shit! Gurus swore, we've got hoppers. He tried tracking them, but they were moving too fast across the surrounding buildings, which were large and intimidating. He focused on one, trying to get a good shot. Ash, shoot them, Naruto ordered. The turret immediately tracked another hopper, spewing out bullets. When the hopper landed on a building, it paused for a moment. The turret was on it quicker than it could move. Once the bullets were done flying, the hopper fell to the ground, smashing into another Geth. The hoppers were being handled, but the rest were still coming with no sign of stopping. As the last hopper fell, courtesy of a well-aimed biotic by Rex, the turret turned back to the horde. Of course, the Geth could and did return fire, making it just as hard for the organics as it was for them. The biotics and Gurus had no room to maneuver, due to the amount of space they had. This forced them to be a little more aggressive, shooting Geth before they had a chance to shoot them first. It was a plan that only somewhat worked. Uzumaki, we're going to have to move, Rex shouted. Otherwise we're going to get pinned. Then you and Liara get down from there, he shouted back up. Gurus, you stay put, you got it, the Turian replied. Both Rex and Liara leapt down, one more gracefully than the other. They're still coming, Tali announced, firing her skirmisher rapidly. If she wasn't careful, it would overheat. Naruto looked at the Geth and then glanced her way. Can you hack them, Tali? Not that many and not at the rate they're coming at us. She was good, but she wasn't that good. Fuck! Rex swore as he threw his biotics at the Geth. He knocked down a few, but like before, the rest of them just stepped and kept on marching. A rocket flew overhead, missing the Mako by a foot and hitting the large door. The second missile was luckier, striking the Mako turret. By the fucking spirits! Swore Gurus, jumping off the Mako to avoid the explosion. You okay, Vicarian? Rex shouted at him, never taking his eyes off the Geth. He got off his back, wincing a bit as he did. Yeah, I'm fine, he answered. Then get back into the fight. I'm not gonna die here. You think I want to? He ignored the pain and started shooting, taking a Geth unit down with each shot. That was one person they knew was still alive. But there was another. Ash, you okay? Naruto shouted into the comm. A Geth got a little too close and he hammered it down with his guns. I'm good, sir, she replied. The turret, on the other hand. Her voice trailed off and silence filled the comm. He didn't like the silence. What's wrong with the turret? Cammy take you, you piece of crap, she swore. Ash, why are you invoking Cammy? What is wrong with the turret? The gun and cannon were damaged by the missile along with the optic camera. I'm blind and useless in here. Then get out here and be useful, woman. Maya shouted into her comm, bashing a Geth with her rifles, but she was at the forefront of the battle. With each second passing, her position was becoming more and more dangerous. Maya, move back! Liara practically ordered her, trying not to panic. But it was hard not to, since the distance between her and the Geth shrank. Coming! She shouted, giving the Geth unit one last bash before falling back to her girlfriend's side. Damn it! Ashley swore. The bottom hatch is stuck, then go through the top, Naruto told her. It was there for a reason. Another Geth got too close. He put a few bullets in its chest piece. Then he took down another with a hard kick. But they were still coming. Can these things just slow down for a minute, at least? Have you gone bosh tet, Commander? Tali asked him, not caring about how she sounded at the moment. Of course, they're not going to slow down. I know a way to slow them down, Kurama told the blonde. And what would that be? A distraction, for one thing, he answered. And it would most likely divert all their attention to you, since you'll be landing in their midst. With a silent shudder, he realized what the fox was talking about. Please suggest something else, he begged. Sorry, don't have one. I already did once and it was embarrassing. Isn't that enough? Hey, it's your choice, Gaki, not mine. I so fucking hate you right now. Duly noted, the fox said with no great care. Stifling a growl, the blonde holstered his pistols, backed up, then sprint forward and leapt at the Geth. Dynamic entry! He cried out. His team could only watch stunned as he flew into the horde, knocking them down like pins. Again? Said Gurus. Wasn't once enough? He could still remember how the blonde broke down the door to Korra's den when they were going after Fist. Apparently not, Rex remarked, going back to shooting. The blonde plowed through the Geth units, taking one after another down with his kick. When he finally stopped flying through the air, he was in the middle of the horde and every gun in Geth hands was pointed at him. You're surrounded, Matatabi told him. I'm aware, he replied, already flashing through hand seals and inhaling. Futon, Shinkahal, wind style, vacuum wave. He cried before spinning in a circle and breathing out the air he had taken in. The first row of Geth around him was instantly shredded and the next 2 rows were ripped into scraps. He got a little more breathing room and acted accordingly. Kaige Bunshin no Jutsu, his clones leapt at the Geth with fists and guns raised. The attack was savage, and they destroyed many of the Geth. They were assisted from the outside by the team's gunfire. But even though they created more space, they were still surrounded. Okay, maybe this wasn't a good idea, the original Naruto thought as he saw another clone get shot. Then why did you go through with it? Kurama asked him. What? You made me. I most certainly did not. It was your choice to leap into the middle of the fray, screaming like an idiot. But then again, I should expect that from you. Arg, I hate you for ball. He screamed frustratingly. You've said that already? He created more clones and redoubled the effort to break the Horde's center. It was working as he, his clones, and his team destroyed more and more Geth. But it was also working against him, mostly due to the fact that as his space widened, the tighter the Geth banded together and bore down on him. Commander, hit the ground, Ashley's voice shouted over the din of the battle. What? Why? He shouted back. Just do it. He would have argued against it had he not heard a very familiar bird cry. He dispelled his clones and hit the ground. In the next few seconds, the Geth surrounding him also hit the ground, dead as well. He got back up. The rest of the Geth were now destroyed too. What the hell did you use, Ash? He asked, looking up at her standing on top of the Mako. The Chidori Simban, she answered, looking a little embarrassed about the fact. He looked at her, then looked at the Geth, and then looked back at her again. And you don't call yourself an Uchiha? She winced somewhat at those words, despite them meaning to be a compliment. I'm not an Uchiha, sir, she reminded him. Don't worry. Once we get out of here, I intend to correct that. She looked at him confusedly. Sir, don't worry about it. He walked out of the now dead horde and went back to the door blocking their path. What we should be worrying about is this large piece of crap. We're probably going to have to break it down. There's no way to get past that door with brute force, Liara told him. He looked back at her. You wanna bet, Liara? He asked. Don't take that bet, Sheila, Maya told her immediately. Saren found a way to open it, Gurus pointed out. There must be some kind of security override somewhere in this complex. We don't have time for that, Gurus, Naruto said. Saren already has a lead on us, and he slowed us down with that little horde of his. If we go looking for a security override, we'll just be giving him more distance to put between us. Well, what do you want us to do? For starters, back the Mako up so I can get a little more room here. Can the Mako move? Ashley nodded. Yes, sir, she told him. Only the turret and the bottom hatch got busted. He looked up at the turret. It didn't look busted, but he didn't know what to look for. Is there any way to fix those problems? It shouldn't be too hard. We have repair gel. Okay, back it up and start with that gel. He looked at the rest of the team. You guys get in as well. What are you going to do? Rex asked him while the others started climbing the Mako. He cracked his knuckles and loosened up his muscles. I'm going to break open that door. Liara, who was in the middle of climbing, stopped and looked at him with horror. Do you have to do that? She asked him. Yeah, I do, he answered. But it's a piece of Prothean technology. She protested. A part of history. You can't just destroy something like that. Rex climbed atop the Mako, passing her. Are you kidding? We do that to history all the time. He said with a laugh that would have probably bordered on cruel. But you can't, Liara, it's a door, Naruto told her bluntly. It was a door that was blocking their way. Now get into the Mako. If it had been an earlier time, when she hadn't seen the things she had seen and hadn't seen the human in action, she might have argued more. Instead, she finished climbing up and promptly hopped into the Mako. Rex followed her and so did Maya, the last person atop the Mako. The vehicle came to life and backed up. He created a clone, and the two of them took a breath, going completely still. He was trying to see if he could do something that he hadn't done in a long time, not since he broke away from the toads. To his surprise, he hadn't lost it. Natural energy crept into his chakra. His training kicked in, balancing it. Around his sunglasses, an orange pigment appeared, showing that he was in sage mode for the first time in over 2,000 years. The original held out his hand and began to channeling his chakra while the clone started moving his hands, moving the chakra around while also keeping it contained. The chakra rapidly transformed into a Rasengan, but he didn't stop there. He kept channeling his chakra and the clone kept it contained. The rest of the team was watching from the Mako's front window. What is he doing? Liara asked. He's already got the Rasengan. He's not going for the Rasengan, Ashley said as she watched. He's going for something bigger. What would that be? I don't know. It could a number of things, she admitted. The jutsu being cradled in his hand started to become bigger and bigger until he had to lift his hand upwards to the sky so he would not be harmed by it. The clone disappeared. Senpo, Odama Rasengan. He slammed the engorged jutsu into the door and held it there. The door, strong, thick, and ancient as it may have been, could not withstand the power of the jutsu. It crumbled and then blew inward, becoming completely destroyed. The sound it made during all of this was not unlike stone being ripped apart. Dust briefly covered the blonde from sight as the door was destroyed. When he reappeared, the hole in the ruined door was big enough to drive 2 Makos though. Holy fucking shit, Maya said as she looked on. By the goddess, Liara agreed. Whoa, Gurus stated. Keela, Tali breathed out in wonder. Okay, that's impressive, Rex declared. Oh look, the repair gel is all done, Ashley remarked, looking at the screen that told her it was done. Sir, you can come back now, she told Naruto through the comm. He turned around, took a running leap, and landed on the top. Let's go, he said as he went for the hatch. The Mako roared to life and shot forward just as he dropped through the hatch. He was aware of the eyes on him, save for Ashley, who was back at the turret scope, as he went back to his seat, but thought nothing of it. What lay beyond was a downward tunnel that was not treated well by it. The majority of the structure still stood, but there were chunks missing from the supports and lay on the ground in uneven heaps. Roots thicker than the Mako itself traveled up from the earth through the rock and then back down again all around. Some of the team felt like they traveling beneath a tree with all the roots around them. At the base of the tunnel was a waterway. Liara came forward to look out the window as they drove on, her eyes drinking in the sights. I have spent my life studying the Protheans, but I never dreamed I would discover anything like this, she declared gleefully. This definitely made up for the destroyed door. This bunker might have been the last refuge of their entire species. Just imagine what mysteries it might hold. Imagine what secrets it might reveal. Maya came to her side. Sheila, you're doing it again, she said, placing a hand on her shoulder. Gurus swerved to avoid a root. Please try and remember why we are here, he said as he drove. Saren, the conduit, the fate of the entire known galaxy? Liara winced at the chastisement. I'm sorry, I was swept up in the moment, she apologized, but her eyes were still glued to the window. I just hope we have the opportunity to study this place in detail after this is done. Let's try and get out of here alive first, okay? Naruto told her. Yes, of course. That was a good plan. As he drove the Mako through another tunnel and into the next waterway, Gurus looked at the walls. What are all those things on the walls? Some kind of containers? He wondered aloud. They might be, Naruto admitted, looking at the supposed containers on the walls. They were certainly shaped like containers, even in this futuristic time. Liara, opinion? He asked the Prothean expert. She looked out the window, this time with calculating gaze instead of wide-eye wonder. They look like stasis pods, she declared after a moment of silence. The Protheans probably tried to keep themselves alive through cryogenic freezing. Are you saying that we may have frozen Protheans all around us? Tali asked from where she sat. Yes, I think so. Her eyes had a hopeful light in them. Not now, Liara, Naruto told her. They had to stay focused on it was they were doing. Right, sorry, she said, going back to her seat. Incoming Geth, shouted Ashley. They were about to go down another tunnel, and she could see the Geth waiting on the sides. Don't slow down, Gurus. Drive right past them. Naruto ordered the Turian. Right, he replied, pressing his foot down on the gas harder, sending the Mako past the Geth with a roar. Ash, are they following us? He asked. No, it doesn't look like it. In fact, it didn't look like they were moving from their positions at all. The Mako surged through into another waterway. It seemed like they were repeating the sights when Gurus suddenly hit the brakes, making the Mako screech to a stop. What the hell? He said, looking out the window. What is happening? Maya asked, reaching for her rifle. It's a trap. There's some kind of energy wall right in front of us, he told her. Saren must have set an ambush. Ashley fired off the cannon and the guns at the energy wall. Either of them worked. That's a powerful shield, she commented. Whatever Saren used to make, it's good. I don't think Saren is behind this, Liara said, going to the window again. Then who is? I don't know. We'll have to find out, Naruto decided, getting up from his seat. Liara, Gurus, you're with me. Everyone else, stay in the Mako and keep an eye out. He got out of his seat and went for the hatch leading below. Location: Citadel. Musashi knew something was off as they approached the warehouse. It looked very similar to the warehouse he investigated that led to this whole mess. While it could be said that many warehouses on the Citadel looked the same, that didn't stop the bad feeling he had. As they stepped inside, the lights were darkened. Musashi put his hand on his bakken. Hajime noticed and pulled out his gun. "Do you see them?" he asked quietly. "No," Musashi answered. That didn't mean they were alone, though. Suddenly the lights flashed brightly, blinding them. Musashi pulled his bakken free, swinging out a slash. "Hajime, drop!" he barked. He felt the bakken hit something hard and keep going. He could only hope that it wasn't Hajime. He finished the swing and brought the bakken back into a guard position. As his eyes recovered, he saw they were surrounded by the tribe, all pointing guns at him. Hajime wasn't at his side, but rather on his knees with the huntress holding a pistol to his head. "Drop the stick," she ordered Musashi. He was surrounded. If he wasn't careful, they would mow him down like a lawn. Hajime looked at him, eyes telling him not to listen. He lowered the bakken, letting the tip touch the ground. He looked again, taking in the area. No one on high, he noticed. There were plenty of places where snipers could be, but there weren't any. "They must be really confident." "That's not what I told you to do," the huntress said. He looked her in the eyes. They were still so cold. "It's lowered." "Pretty much the same thing. You could probably kill me before I get it back up." "You're right. But you're rather gullible. You followed the trail we left for you. I'm betting that you think I'll spare your friend here." She didn't wait for a response. A single gunshot rang out in the warehouse and Hajime fell to the ground dead. "Well, still think you can save him?" He looked at the body. Some of the tribe noticed it was dispassionate. "Actually, you saved me a problem," he remarked. "Don't get me wrong, he was a good man and was becoming a decent friend. But I just knew he wouldn't be able to keep my secret." "Secret?" "Yes, he was a member of my clan and would have informed them of my location. That was something he wanted to avoid." He noticed a few of the tribe were staring at him puzzledly. "Please tell me you considered us enough of an enemy to properly research us." That's what his people had been doing. But the looks he was getting told him they hadn't. "I feel rather insulted." "You'll feel dead soon enough," the huntress told him. He turned his attention back to her. "Well, before you kill me, let me ask a question. Did you ever hear what happened at Elysium and Torfan?" The eyes around him widened. Good. So they knew what that meant. 3 things happened in the next few seconds. First, his bakken snapped back up, jutsu at the ready due to his quick hand seals, and he swung wide, slashing through the tribesmen's throats. Second, the huntress ducked, avoided the slash, and then came back up charging her biotics. Third, an explosion rocked the warehouse. Things turned sideways and then went dark. Location: Ilos. Naruto fought off a shiver when his feet landed in the water and waited for Liara and Gurus to come out. "Okay, what are we looking for now?" Gurus asked. He noticed that the way back was blocked by an energy wall as well. "They could be easily ambushed here." "I don't know," Naruto answered. Not the answer he would have liked. "Then why are we out here?" "We have to find something. I just don't know what it is." "What about that doorway over there?" Liara suggested, pointing to said doorway. It was the only thing in the trap spot that seemed to go anywhere. Since they had no other options, they went over to the door. There was an ancient elevator on the other side. "You know, I'm certain that there is a joke out there about ancient times and elevators. I just don't know it," Shikaku remarked as they entered and the elevator started going downwards. "Don't try and go find it." "We really don't need to know it," Isaba told him. "I'm with him on this one," Gyuki added. "Same here," Naruto agreed. "I have studied the Protheans for decades, but I have never felt this sense of foreboding," Liara said as they went deeper and deeper. "What will we find down there?" "I can't tell you that, Liara," the specter told her. "Whatever it is, we should be careful," Gurus stated. The other two silently agreed. The elevator came to a stop, making them raise their weapons. The door opened, revealing a somewhat large room. There were containers on the walls that went up to the ceiling. But the only thing that concerned them was the ramp that led from the elevator to a 6, which looked to be on the fritz. "Well, I think we've found that something," Naruto remarked as he stared at the 6. "That something is a Prothean 6, Liara said with glee in her voice. As they walked, she did her best not to run like a giddy little girl. She had to be professional. As they approached the 6, Naruto could feel it was looking at him. It was a strange feeling when it didn't have any eyes. "You are human," it stated. That was surprising to hear. A quick glance showed Gurus and Liara were just as surprised. "You know what I am," he said. "Of course, I have knowledge of one of the Prothean Empire's greatest enemies. But you are unfortunately not machine, and I do not sense the taint of indoctrination on any of you, unlike the other that passed recently. So I will make an exception in granting access. This is incredible. An actual Prothean 6, and I can understand it. Liara said with wonder. I have been monitoring your communication since you arrived at this facility. I have translated my output into a format you will comprehend. My name is Vigil. You are safe here, for the moment. But that is likely to change. Soon, nowhere will be safe, it declared. Just to be sure, you are a 6 system, right? Gurus asked it. With the way it was talking, it felt a little too similar to an AI. I am an advanced non-organic analysis system with personality imprints from Xadishan, chief overseer of the Ilos research facility. I'd say that was a yes, Matatabi commented. Were you the one who created that energy wall? Liara asked. Yes, it answered. Why? So you could come here. Why would you want us to come here? Naruto asked it. Obviously I didn't want you in particular to come. But given the situation, I am willing to look past that fact. The distaste in its tone was obvious to everyone. He would have frowned, but it wouldn't have done anything. How generous of you, he said sarcastically. It was like the sarcasm flew over the VI's head, or what passed for it. You must break a cycle that has continued for millions of years. But to stop it, you must understand, or you will make the same mistakes we did. The Citadel is the heart of your civilization and the seat of government, as it was with us, and as it had been with every civilization that came before us. But the Citadel is a trap. The station is actually an enormous mass relay. One that links to dark space, the empty void beyond the galaxy's horizon. When the Citadel relay is activated, the Reapers will pour through. And all you know will be destroyed. All 3 organics stared at the 6 in growing horror. That's impossible! Gurus finally exclaimed in protest. It is not, Vigil told him. How the hell would anyone not realize the fact the Citadel is a relay? Naruto demanded. The Reapers are careful to keep the greatest secrets of the Citadel hidden. That is why they created a species of seemingly benign organic caretakers. You mean the Keepers? He remembered seeing the creatures around the Citadel. They were always working something that had looked important, so he didn't bother them. In fact, people didn't wonder why they were there, with the exception of one guy who wanted to know and had badgered Rex to help him until he got a fist to the face. Yes. The Keepers maintain the station's basic functions. They enable any species that discover the Citadel to use it without fully understanding the technology. Reliance on the Keepers ensures no other species will ever discover the Citadel's true nature. Not until the relay is activated and the Reapers invade. Son of a bitch! He swore. They would be able to attack the Council and the Citadel fleet without anyone being able to respond properly. They would be crippled and on their way to destroyed before they realized what was happening. That was our fate, Vigil said with no emotion. Our leaders were dead before we realized we were under attack. The Reapers seized control of the Citadel and through it, the mass relays. Communication and transportation across our empire were crippled. Each star system was isolated, cut off from the others. Easy prey for the Reaper fleets. Over the next decades, the Reapers systematically obliterated our people. World by world, system by system, they methodically wiped us out. He looked at Naruto. Though by the fact you are standing here tells me that humans still live. How is it you have lived while the Empire was destroyed? How would I know? He asked. He got no answer, making him even more annoyed. Why didn't you try and surrender? Gurus asked the 6. No offer was ever given. Our enemy had a single goal, the extinction of all advanced organic life. Through the Citadel, the Reapers had access to all our records, maps, census data. Information is power, and they knew everything about us. Their fleets advanced across every settled region of the galaxy. Some planets were utterly destroyed, others were conquered, their populations enslaved. These indoctrinated servants became sleeper agents under Reaper control. Taken in as refugees by other Protheans, they betrayed them to the machines. Within a few centuries, the Reapers had killed or enslaved every Prothean in the galaxy. They were relentless, brutal, and absolutely thorough. Then where are the Reapers now? Liara asked. Our worlds were stripped bare, harvested by the indoctrinated slaves. Everything of value, all resources, all technology, was taken. Certain that all advanced organic life had been extinguished, the Reapers retreated back through the Citadel relay into dark space, sealing it behind them. All evidence of the Reaper had been wiped away. Only their indoctrinated slaves were left behind, abandoned. Mindless husks no longer capable of independent thought, the indoctrinated soon starved or died of exposure. The genocide of the Protheans was complete, but why do the Reapers keep coming back again and again, to do the same thing? Naruto wondered aloud. An extreme case of OCD? Offered Shikaku. Any other time, he would have said it jokingly. But now he was too horrified to even say with a smile. Not now, he told the Tanuki. The Reapers are alien, unknowable, the six answered. Perhaps they need slaves or resources. More likely, they are driven by motives and goals organic beings cannot hope to comprehend. In the end, what does it matter? Your survival depends on stopping them, not in understanding them. Then what do I need to do? The conduit is the key. Before the Reapers attacked, we Protheans were on the cusp of unlocking the mysteries behind mass relay technology. Ilos was a top-secret facility. Here, researchers worked to create a small-scale version of a mass relay. One that linked directly to the Citadel, the hub of the mass relay network. Liara was the first to realize what it meant. The conduit is not a weapon. It's a back door onto the Citadel. She said. Wait, Gurus said. If the Reapers were destroying everything and anything that was Prothean, how was this place not destroyed? That is a valid question, Vigil told the Turian. All official records of our project were destroyed in the initial on the Citadel. While the Prothean Empire came crashing down, Ilos was spared. We severed all communication with the outside and our facility went dark. The personnel went underground into these archives. To conserve resources, everyone was put into cryogenic stasis. I was programmed to monitor the facility and wake the staff when the danger had passed. But the genocide of a species is a long, slow process. Years passed. Decades, centuries. The Reapers persisted. And my energy reserves were dwindling. So you just stayed down here, Naruto said with more than a hint of disapproval. We were a few hundred against a galactic invasion fleet. Our only hope was to remain undetected. I began to disable the life support of non-essential personnel. First support staff, then security. One by one, their pods were shut down to conserve energy. Eventually, only the stasis pods of the top scientists remained active. Even these were in danger of failing when the Reapers finally retreated back through the Citadel relay. Those words horrified them. They had seen the pods in the waterways and they could see the pods in this room. Vigil's implication was not lost. There were hundreds of stasis pods out there. Liara said. You just shut them down? You killed them? Naruto was equally furious. What the hell kind of program are you supposed to be when you kill the people you're supposed to protect? He demanded. This outcome was not completely unforeseen. My actions were the result of a contingency programming entered on my creation, Vigil replied. I bet they didn't tell the non-essential staff about this contingency, Gurus remarked, glaring at the six. I saved key personnel. When the Reapers retreated, the top researchers were still alive. My actions are the only reason any hope remains. And what is this hope? Naruto asked. He was still angry about the pods, but he knew he had to focus. When the researchers woke, they realized that the Prothean species was doomed. There were only a dozen individuals left, far too few to sustain a viable population. Yet they vowed to find some way to stop the Reapers from returning. A way to break the cycle forever. And they knew the Keepers were the key. The Keepers? He repeated. Yes. The Keepers are controlled by the Citadel. Before each invasion, a signal is sent through the station compelling the Keepers to activate the Citadel relay. After decades of feverish study, the scientists discovered a way to alter this signal. Using the conduit, they gained access to the Citadel and made the modifications. This time, when Sovereign sent the signal to the Citadel, the Keepers ignored it. The Reapers are trapped in dark space. If that's the case, why is Saren trying to use the conduit? Naruto, go over the words you've just said and think about it, Kurama told his Jinchuriki. He thought hard. If it wasn't a serious moment, one of the Biju might have cracked a joke about him being careful not to lose brain cells. Luckily, it came to him quickly. Kami, take it. Saren's going to use the conduit to get onto the Citadel. Yes, Vigil agreed. And once inside, having bypassed the Citadel's defenses, he will transfer control of the station to Sovereign. Sovereign will override the Citadel's systems and manually open the relay. And the cycle of extinction will begin again. Fucking hell! He swore. Did he just win this thing? Are we powerless to stop him? Just what I would expect from a human, the six said with more than a hint of contempt. I am surprised how you managed to survive all this time. Your ancient allies must have had to guide you through everything. Naruto glared at the six. It was really tempting to start shooting the damn thing. You got a point to make, or are you being snide for the hell of it? The blonde asked. There is a data file in my console. Take a copy when you go. When you reach the Citadel's master control unit, upload it to the station. It will corrupt the Citadel's security protocols and give temporary control over the station. It might give you a chance against Sovereign. Wait, where's the Citadel's master control unit? Gurus asked. I've never heard of anything like that. And he was in CCC, he would have at least heard of something like that, through the conduit. Follow Saren. He will lead you to your destination. How many times have I done that before? Naruto asked himself. It seemed like every time they had wanted to find Obito during the war, they would have to follow his most recent path of destruction. He went to the console, copied the data file, took it, and turned back to his teammates. Let's go. But we can't leave. We have access to knowledge about the Protheans. Liara protested. Before anyone could stop her, she asked the six a question. What was the point of the beacons? Why were there one on Eden Prime and one on Vermeer? At our apex, the beacons spanned the breadth of our empire, Vigil told her. We used them as a single galaxy-wide network, to transmit data and communications rapidly from world to world. Virtually all the beacons were destroyed during the invasion. But once the Reapers were gone, the survivors here on Ilos decided to risk sending out a message. We knew it was unlikely that there were other survivors. But if there were, we wanted them to know about Ilos. We wanted to give them hope. So a message was sent across the network, but you may have been caught by the Reapers. In truth, we didn't expect any of the beacon would still function, but we had to try. If there were survivors, we had to reach them. The message was meant for our own people. It was coded so only organic beings could interpret it. We still didn't understand the power of Reaper indoctrination. We never realized it could lead an agent of the machines, like Saren, to this world. But it has also led you and your people here. So perhaps we did not fail after all, despite your choice of companions. The Asari looked at the human there, and then looked at the six. How could the humans be around during the time of the Protheans? They only discovered FTL in the past couple of centuries. Vigil flickered for a moment. I don't understand the question. She was confused by that answer, but pressed on. How could humans have been in existence during the time of the Protheans? She asked. I don't understand the question. She tried a different tactic. Why was humanity an enemy of the Protheans? This time, the six did give an answer of sorts. They would not submit to the Empire. They were rebels. That wasn't good enough. She had to know why. But before she could ask another question, Naruto cut her off. Liara, we don't have time for this, he told her. She looked at him, slightly incredulous. But, she began, we came to go after Saren, who has a good head start on us. Every moment we delay, he gets farther ahead. She looked at him, then at the six. Just one more question? She asked. No! He practically shouted at her. We have to stay focused on Saren. He's the reason we're here. You know he's right, Liara, Gurus agreed with the blonde. Besides, there were secrets here that were meant to be forgotten. For a moment, she looked like a fish out of water. Then she regained her composure. You are right. I am sorry, she said to Naruto. My personal feelings clouded my judgment. We should go. They quickly went for the elevator. Naruto reached for his comm Joker. Do you copy? He called out. Loud and clear, Commander. Replied Joker. I need you to turn the Normandy around and go back through the relay. Once you're through, find the nearest Alliance fleet, and have them send out a signal to the rest to go to the Citadel with the heaviest set of firepower they've got. Do you understand? For a moment, all he heard on the other end of the comm was silence. But he finally got a reply. What? Joker, do you understand the order I just gave you? Yes or no? He asked again. I understand the order, Commander. I'm just trying to figure out why I'm essentially asking the Alliance to bring their ships to the Citadel and what might look like a sign of attack. He's got a point, Isabu pointed out. I am aware of that, the blonde said in reply as he stepped into the elevator with Gurus and Liara. But now was not the time to worry about stuff like that. If they worried about such things, they would lose time and they could not afford to lose more time. Don't worry about that right now, Joker, he told his pilot. Just get to those fleets and tell them what I told you. Do whatever you have to do to get them to follow to the Citadel, but make sure they go. I will do that, sir. But why am I doing it in the first place? Joker asked. Because Saren is about to use a backdoor to the Citadel to bypass security to allow Sovereign through and summon the rest of the Reapers, he answered as the elevator started going upwards. And since the Citadel didn't believe you, they're about to get sucker punched by that move. The Normandy's pilot finished for him. Got it, sir, I'm heading back to the relay now. Good. He pulled his hand off the comm for a moment. Nothing was said aloud. Then he noticed something out of the corner of his eye and saw that Liara was crying. What's the matter, Liara? he asked. I'm sorry, she apologized, quickly wiping her tears away. It's just that, all their culture, all their advanced technology, and the Protheans were taken in by the Reapers, just as we were. They failed. The Protheans did not fail, Gurus told her. They gave us a chance. It falls to us to make the most of it, so I suggest that we hurry. I can agree with that, Naruto said as the elevator door opened up, revealing the Mako to their eyes. Let's move. They quickly climbed in. Did you find what you were looking for? Tali asked as they went back to their seats. Of sorts, said Liara. She didn't say anything else. That fact concerned Maya. She looked at her girlfriend. She was looking straight ahead, trying to look resolute. Was there any trouble? Naruto asked Ashley. None, sir, she answered. But as you can already see, the energy wall is down. You're right, I can see it. He looked over at the Turians starting up the Mako. Floor it, Gurus. You got it, Gurus answered, pressing his foot down hard on the gas pedal. The Mako came alive with a roar and shot down the waterway, sending water flying in waves. Time was of the essence now, and they didn't have much of it. But as they went down another tunnel, Ashley saw something. Shit! We've got Geth! She swore as she locked onto the nearest Geth unit. Do not slow down. Naruto ordered Gurus. Run over them if you have to. Right, he said, keeping his foot on the gas down. The Mako came blitzing out of the tunnel and right through the Geth units waiting there. It came so fast that they didn't have a good aim or reach to fire their rockets to try and damage the Mako. As he ran over them, Gurus also made the turn that would take them further down to where they needed to go. Look out, there's a drop. Ashley warned him as they came closer. The waterway continued below, but it was still a drop. I can see it. The Mako flew over the edge of the drop. The landing made everyone jostle around in their seats. They were all glad they weren't in the crash seat. The new sense of urgency alerted Maya. She felt like she was missing something. She didn't like that, both as a person and a swagman. What the hell did you guys find? She demanded. She wasn't the only one. Naruto could practically feel the burning question his team. Liara, explain it as quickly as you can, he told the Asari. Okay. She looked at the others and began explaining what had happened with the Prothean 6. She went through it all in a short amount of time and didn't take any questions until the end of the explanation. Even then, she kept it short. Ashley paid somewhat attention to Liara, choosing to focus through the scope. And it was a good thing she did. More Geth, she warned. Big or small? Asked Rex. Small, Gurus answered. We're not stopping for them. He drove through and then over them. But they were not the only ones in the waterway. Shit, there's a lot more of them, the Turian driving the Mako said as he looked at the rest of the Geth. It seemed like they were doing their best to stop them. Don't stop, Gurus, Naruto told him. Wasn't planning on it, he replied. The Mako kept driving through the water, past or through the Geth units trying to block it. Sometimes, it went over their heads, due to use of the micro-thrusters, and yet they weren't in the clear. We've got Geth Colossuses, Ashley declared, already spinning the turret towards the nearest Colossus and opening fire. How many of them are there? Asked Naruto. His side of the window was dribbling water from a splash, and it obscured his vision. He could barely see one Colossus. Enough. I don't think I'll be able to find a way around these guys, Gurus told the blonde. He could see clearly out his window. There was enough of them to seriously clog the waterway. Find a way, Gurus. We can't afford to give Saren any more of a head start, the Spectre replied. All right, but don't blame me if this doesn't work. Just drive, Maya shouted from where she sat. It was bad enough feeling the Mako shake and swerve to avoid anything that might damage it, but listening to them talk about things that she couldn't see, as now was not the time to get up to look, made it worse. Gurus drove the Mako forward, going straight at the Colossus in the front. The two of them played a game of chicken, only with guns included. At the last moment before they were about to crash, Gurus swerved to the left, going around it. That's one, he declared, and a lot more to follow, Naruto stated, finally able to see out his window properly now. He saw the number of Colossuses standing in the waterway. If there was ever time for his clones, it would be now. But that would mean they'd have to stop. And they couldn't. To his credit, Gurus never slowed down. Despite the number of missiles and gunfire being shot at the Mako, the Turian stayed cool and drove, trying to avoid the incoming fire. He was only partially successful. Everyone inside could feel the impacts when the Mako was hit, but he didn't stop, driving past all of that, around and under the Colossuses that tried to stop him. And it all paid off in the end as he turned a corner, finally free of all the attacks, and something glowing like a relay at the bottom of another slope. Please tell me that's it, he said. Liara quickly scrambled up from her chair to the window. Yes, that's it. That's the conduit, she declared. The thing looked like a small mass relay, and she could understand why the Protheans might have made it like that. He didn't need any more prompting. The Mako all but flew down the slope, hurtling towards the conduit, only to find Morgeth lying in wait. You've got to be kidding me, he swore as they started shooting. Just drive, this is the final stretch, the Asari urged him. Those words struck a chord with Naruto, making him think back to his last confrontation with the Beto and how he thought similar thoughts. The Mako driving towards the conduit felt very much like his journey to his father's former student, albeit it was much shorter, and he was being shot at. Then he remembered something that had felt so unimportant at the time. Struck at the sheer ridiculousness of it, he began to laugh out loud. He laughed even harder when he looked at everyone in the Mako and their confused looks. What the hell is so funny? Rex demanded. I just realized something, he said, still laughing. What? Gurus drove the Mako up the ramp and straight at the conduit. As the Mako was sent through like a ship going through a mass relay, he told them all what he found so funny. There's a very good chance that I'm about to die a virgin. Codex entry, humanity and the Systems Alliance Samurai. While the shinobi are the premier fighting force of the elemental nations, the samurai were the previous holders of that title. As the years went by and the power of the shinobi grew, the samurai have been considered as outdated and obsolete by every nation. By the time of the Fourth Shinobi World War, only the Land of Iron remained as the only domain in the elemental nations that fielded samurai, and had gone through reforms to catch up with the shinobi in terms of fighting strength. Even the Tsuchika Jinoki was wary of them. Since the Fourth Shinobi World War, samurai have been present in many conflicts fighting side by side with the shinobi, and have proven to be far from obsolete. Their part in the War of Three Flags saw them acting as human tanks. They served as heavy infantry for the elemental nations, moving in and spearheading attacks, especially under the command of Sasuke Uchiha during the Frontier Campaign and under Shikamaru Nara in the defense of the elemental nations. The samurai training of today is considered very extensive, with equal parts hard training and tradition. While every samurai is trained in the use of their standard issue equipment, they are also required to go through powered exoskeleton training to be able to use any sort of armor, much like modern Einherjar training. They are expected to perform at least equally as well in a powered exoskeleton as they are out of it. In addition to being skilled and licensed in the use of a powered exoskeleton, samurai are also expected to at least be competent in the use of a sword, as the Gunto-class combat machete is a part of their standard equipment. Samurai follow a strict code of conduct known as Bushido, and are expected to be highly skilled and disciplined. While the code has been adjusted to fit to today's standards, many samurai still commit seppuku, capital punishment/seppuku, whenever they either break this code, or they intend to stop themselves from being captured by the enemy. Today, the samurai still serve in a heavy infantry role. But unlike the Einherjar that prefer to bring heavy firepower into the mix, the samurai are specialists in the close-quarters combat role. Their tactics make it such that they are normally called upon for boarding actions and urban combat scenarios to complement most any unit. In addition, samurai are often called upon to guard important places, as well as to serve as an honor guard for special occasions in the Systems Alliance. It is often speculated that they are humanity's answer to the Turian Armiger legions due to their level of discipline, adherence to honor, and highly skilled soldiers.